Kia ora and welcome back, everybody, to this epic Aotearoa Create a Better Future podcast. Man, we're excited today. As part of this Who Dares Wins, or in the service of others, Who Dares Wins series, we've got an amazing guest for you today. Our guest today is a military veteran, former police officer, and former private security team leader, having worked in some of the most volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous environments around the globe. He has served as the Asia Pacific Regional Security Operations Manager, tasked with ensuring the safety and protection of senior government officials and VIPs. He's a clinically endorsed author on mental health and #1 trending author on crisis leadership and management. Our guest today is featured alongside people such as the amazing Oprah Winfrey, the intelligent Simon Sinek, the charismatic Denzel Washington, and the creative J.K. Rowling, to name a few. He has trained and continues to train thousands of people across multiple industries in order to help them achieve the results they desire, whether that's in business, financial literacy, personal development, or relationships. He is an inspirational speaker and human strategist dealing with the human element in organizations to increase and improve engagement, productivity, and revenue. He is the founder of the Lion Academy, whose mission is to empower and serve people, and he is a fiercely loyal and devoted husband, father, leader, and friend, especially to those who know him best. Ladies and gentlemen, Aotearoa, the one and only Mr. Dion Jensen. Welcome, brother.
Oh man, thanks for having me. And the first thing that pops in my head is, now I know why Bill Bestick said, "Hey, bro, can you write that down? Can I use that?" Because I sit here opposite you and it's interesting because you and I know all the same people. We've known
Yeah,
each other's names for years, never connected before now.
yeah. I know
And
that's
you sort of shudder inwardly when a fellow Kiwi brother creates such an option for you, knowing you got a special forces background, and I'm a band 4 baggy from battalion, and when you hear that background, you're like, come on, bro, tone it down. And
no
there's still
way.
that feeling even now. Even all of these things, it's you sit here with our network and you sort of cringe a little bit.
But I think that's just a large part of in terms of the humility that you have and from your background in that as well, Pacific Islander, those sorts of things. It's a very humble upbringing and background, and so that's not to take away from other cultures and ethnicities in that as well. That's just been my experience of what I've experienced here, and mate, all of that stuff. 100% was awesome as I had the privilege to do some more research, delving in, had a couple of conversations with you prior to this opportunity and moment, and man, I'm just super impressed. It's such a privilege, Dion, to have you on the podcast, and grateful to actually connect with you. Like, soon as Bill mentioned your name, he goes, Dion Jensen. Straight away, I knew the name. I was like, man, I know the name, but like you said, I never had the privilege to connect with you. But we knew all and know all the same people, a lot of the same people. So great to have you on, man. During the session, we're going to delve into the out the other side of military life, covering trauma, transition, and evolution, which I'm really, really excited about, because you bring a solutions focused and mindset to what we're wanting to discuss today and the approach to that. And so I know that's just really going to be very, very helpful, not only for me, but for our audience. And so I guess to sort of dive into things, my first question I have, bro, before we dive into that, can you talk us through how you've managed to achieve and do all the things that you've been able to do today? Like that stuff in the intro just blew my mind and blows my mind, and it's incredible. And I would love it if you wouldn't mind taking a few moments just to, I guess, share some of your journey. I realize it may come up in some of the stuff that we'll talk about, but it would be really interesting, I think, not only for me, but for our listeners to, if you could just enlighten us with how you've been able to do that. You use the term a band 4 baggy from battalion, and so again, people might look at that and go, well, what's this baggy got to do? You and I had a conversation around some stuff which will probably come up in here as well, but I would love it if you could just talk a little bit to that and why you feel and how you feel you've been able to achieve these things, because they're incredible.
Yeah, it's interesting when we start. So let's start where we are. That's normally everything we do is we just meet people where they are. So where we are having a conversation, and how does a band 4 baggy do those things, right? That's where we're going to start. And for those that know you and those that know me from maybe back then, I mean, I'm playing basketball in battalion than anything else. And when we launched the book in New Zealand Parliament, now, man, talk about privilege. Bob Davies, former and Vietnam vet, and he's got so much money. This man, he called me and says, "I've been asked to your book in Parliament, but I don't think I have enough money." And I was just like, "What?" So he goes, "But I've got someone that does," and he asked Major Gordon Benfeld to come in and launch the book in Parliament after Ron Mark created that opportunity for us.
Yeah.
And said, because it just sums up what the question you just asked. He said his words were, "It's quite remarkable. Clinical professionals have lauded Dion Jensen's work as being outstanding and refreshing given his unqualified background." And you and I immediately interpret that to, "Baggy, do this, man. This guy just played basketball battalion and like." I've always said I am G.I. Joe average. Into this, I love your ethos of in the service of others. I have a huge amount of respect for special forces units around the world because it is the epitome of that particular environment. And so when you first start this, I'm always coming with a background of what I enjoy, and
Awesome.
challenged by yourself, it's really, really easy to stop. But the ability to do this starts from my parents. Taught me, a couple of really key things. So Dad's 6'6" Samoan, one of the first Samoans in the New Zealand Army in cadets, right? Mum's 5'0" and white. So I was born in Singapore, and I always joked that I was conceived in army barracks. I was born in an army prison, and I joined the army, right? Because Changi was a military hospital. But growing up in Ngāti too, in the housing area in Singapore, and that huge extended whānau, there was not a lot of limits and boundaries, bro. Like, we're 12 and 13-year-old kids running around Singapore, catching taxis and buses and going to Indonesia and going to Kotatingi waterfalls and all these school trips. I mean, we thought that's what the world was. This world was this big adventure. And all the people that were different and looked different and sounded different and had different food and all the rest, it was amazing. There was no clash of differences. We embraced our differences, and that was the culture I was brought up in, that whole extended whānau. And because it's a whānau, there was no, you had to compete to be these different people. You were just accepted for who you are. Dion's a little skinny mouthy kid running around. and the other kids are this and this, but you were who you were. There's not a lot of judgment on who you were. Amazing place to grow up. And my parents always taught me a couple of key things, bro. They're like, you can be anything you want to be. That was like from day dot, you can be anything you want to be. Nothing can stop us loving you, and you can always come home. And those were the key things, right? So life's this adventure. And then I was watching a lot of the army uncles come through our house, and in Singapore in 74, 76, 80, 82, and 86, 88, different types of uncles were coming through the house because you still remember those noises and that stuff at night. So a lot of my dad was a military policeman, so but he's Samoan, played combined services rugby and plays the guitar, so he got on with everybody, right? But our flat at Durban Road and our house in Nee Soon, a lot of people would come through our house, and it was always after dark. Someone would turn up, and I would find out later that it was one of the uncles going through stuff. Vietnam vets that got on the gas and got a little bit too wasted, and Dad would turn up as a military policeman, but instead of taking them to the cells, I'd come to our house. And so there was always people coming through the house with a real whānau feeling,
Right.
It's like if you had somewhere to go, somewhere to be, there was all these houses you could go to. I could, guys like Brian Wano, him and I were kids in Singapore together. Ricardo William, all the dads, it was all Defence Force, And so I always grew up with this knowledge that we had all these safe places to go, but I was always aware that people were coming through our flat that not normally in our flat, and that was because there were people going through stuff, and ours was one of the houses, as were many. And Mum was that lady that a lot of people came to for support.
Wow.
And of course, when guys get in trouble, it's the MPs that normally turn up first.
So your dad's there.
So Dad's there with one of his best mates, PK William, who was Air Force MP.
Right.
Air Force Police, and he was one of the kung fu martial arts instructors, so him and Dad together were really quite a good team.
Awesome.
And I still remember him coming home one night, blood all down his face and all the rest of it, from a big scrap with the Tamil Tigers on the strip, and the battalion boys had bailed them all out.
Was this your dad or the other?
Yeah, my dad.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So got exposed really, really early to what Ngāti Tūmātauinga as a whānau was.
Yeah.
It wasn't a defence, it
Beautiful.
wasn't a business like it is now. It was actually a tribe, it was actually a family, right?
Yeah.
And so I come all through school, and I'm always the skinniest and the weakest, but I'm the runt of the litter. I'm always the skinniest and the weakest because my mum was induced. So she's pregnant and awaiting to give birth to me at Changi, and it's getting close to lunchtime, so the staff don't want to deliver a baby over lunch.
So they induce her.
So they induce my mum. So we joke in my family, it's like, man, you came out not ready and you've been complaining ever since. Your mouth hasn't stopped, you know.
Hard case.
Yeah, so always the skinniest, always the weakest, always the runt of the litter, but never made to feel like the runt of the litter. Back then, you were just part of the crew. That's Dion, that's Corey, that's Justin, that's Ricardo, that's Wano, that's this, that's that. That's just who you were, and you just slotted into this group, and everyone looked after each other, you know. And we even had army ID cards as kids, you know. So you jump in the taxi, yeah. So you catch the 161, the 164, the 167 bus from Sembawang Road into town. You had to be back before it got dark. We had our own money. We had our own little army ID cards, dependent ID cards.
Wow.
And we're just rolling all around Singapore, and all the taxi drivers knew because the relationship between the New Zealand Army and Singaporeans is so tight, bro. Still now, you know.
Yeah, right.
For me to end up back there, and to one was now back there as well. For us to come full circle in life is really cool. So yeah, always just amazing sense of belonging.
Yeah.
Differences celebrated, and there was none of the stuff that we're going to end up talking a lot about, you know. So an amazing childhood. But when we came back to New Zealand, we were a class ahead. So runt of the litter in my normal age group, because our schooling's ahead in armed forces school, I get bumped up a class.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So
okay.
now I'm skinnier and weaker than everybody else again, right? And that's when I started seeing the cliques. You know, we go somewhere and we're all connected. Now it's not like that.
Yeah.
Now you're getting bullied, and now you're getting teased, and you're like, well, hang on, this is different because everyone's together. But if you're in the housing area and you're going to school to New Zealand Forces School, everyone knows whose kid you are. You know, so if you're out where you're not supposed to be, it's like, hey, boy, you're supposed to be home. Where are you supposed to be? And then it's like, hey, Tama, we just found your boy around here. So everyone, there's this overwatch, right, of all the families.
Yeah.
You know, of keeping an eye on everybody. Even the parties, bro. Like, I still struggle to stay awake at a garage guitar party because I would always sneak out into the garage because Dad was always on the guitar. And even the structure of a garage party in the housing area was always safe and the same. So all the kids were rounded up and they get all fed inside and they run around and become little monkeys, and then at a certain time of the evening everyone gets put to bed.
Yeah.
But everyone's got a role and everyone's safe. But we always used to try and sneak out and go in because I wanted to listen to the music, and I'd fall asleep behind Dad playing the guitar. And then, you know, most army parties follow the same flow.
Yeah.
Everyone sort of turns up, the guitar comes out, everything goes cool. There's a demographic that then drifts off to town. There's a demographic that stays. There's a demographic that sneaks off and does naughty things or people they're not supposed to. Then there's a demographic that ends up sorting their differences out behind the back of the shed. Yeah. And then a whole lot of gigging, and then stuff happens, and then it continues again. But all the kids were always protected from the other side of things. It was just an awesome place to grow up.
Yeah. And
so going through schooling in New Zealand, now that was difficult, and our family unit was so tight. My sister and I are our best mates. You know, we become really, really tight. And then when you hit those teenage years, bro, and everything else happens, you know, I'm so skinny they used to tease me and call me runaway skeleton. And so ugly, bro, my acne was so bad they used to tease me and call me pizza face.
Wow.
But because of the amount of basketball that we used to play in Singapore as kids, I was getting really good at basketball at school. And then it was hanging out with the basketball crew, just being on a team, you know, that sort of felt like family again. What it was like growing up as an army brat. So I became embedded with the basketball guys. And at my school at Upper College, the basketball guys were the cool guys, or the brown cool guys. And the rugby team was sort of the white, sort of well-behaved sort of side. So all the mischief fellas were the basketball players. And I felt safer there because I'm used to being around this demographic.
Yeah.
And so they were all the mischief guys, and so I got really good at basketball. And then there was no bullying or carrying on when you're part of the basketball team, because, you know, once you're part of a crew, you don't touch one of them, or you got to deal with all of them, right?
Yeah.
Whatever crew that is. And so I started really enjoying that side. And then I ended up having the choice to play professional basketball or join the army.
Wow.
And by that stage, I think I got school C, and I was starting to fail everything else in the sixth form year.
Yeah.
But one thing, when you ask me that question, sticks out now, just saying I haven't thought about it for a long, long time. I've always loved reading. I've always loved movies. I've always loved comic books. I've always, as a kid, been exposed to life being an adventure.
Yeah.
There's a quest of some description. There's a group of people that have this focus to go and do stuff, And then growing up in the army, that's what really got my juices going, And then being part of a team and doing things. But I remember that I struggled with being able to write what was going on in my head. Like,
Yeah. Okay.
numbers are not my friends. I'm really, really good at creating numbers with zeros on the end now because that's a skill, but it's not my language. My language is words and emotions and people and social stuff. And I write lots of books, bro. One of the books that I'm writing is called The Crayon and the Calculator.
Right.
I'm the crayon, bro. I'm drawing big process diagram stuff on the window. I'm just a kid with a cosmic crayon. And I've had to develop a skill set to get the calculated pieces together, which is a skill. And then now you learn, just find a calculator, bro. Just find someone that's got that mindset and just team up with them. And so I remember being in English and essays, bro. Essays never made sense to me. In 500 words or 2,000 words, explain this. I was like, why? I could tell you in 10. Just like, why are we wasting all this time explaining stuff? So I remember we had to read Amadeus, the book Amadeus, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. So Mozart. And of course, I read the book, but then the movie was out too. So I watched the movie on VHS. For anyone that doesn't know what VHS is, Google it. You'll find it next to phone books and some other stuff.
and UBDs, CBDs.
Yeah. And I just understood it because it was an emotional story. And I mean, the content, like, it's not something that kids would really be interested in, right? But I just understood it. And so the whole story of Mozart is, there's a composer called Salieri, and he made this promise to God that he was going to be the best composer, and he's going to abstain from women and alcohol and all the rest. He's going to devote his life to God and be the greatest composer there ever was. And then so when Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart turns up, he composes Twinkle Twinkle Little Star when he's 5 years old.
Wow.
And so Salieri's like, what the? And this kid's got a gift, and that gift can only be from God. So he starts spending time and mentoring Mozart. Mozart's a rat bag, bro. And so he's drinking and rooting, and he's just been an absolute nightmare. And Salieri's like, come on, Lord, I've devoted my entire life to wanting to honor you by composing music. You give a gift to this muppet. And so he loves Mozart as a person, but he ends up hating God. So he ends up doing things to destroy Mozart in regards to get back to God. So I understood all this, and I can explain it like this, but I could not write it down.
Yeah.
And my English teacher, I think it's Mrs. Mason, she's like, all right, Dion, you suck at writing. It's just, right, you just do. So I'm not going to make you do that, but what I want you to do for the essay is I want you to sit in front of class and explain and answer the question. And I just sat there and went, blah, just like I did then, because I understood it.
Yeah.
Because I had to see it, and then I understood it. I understood the emotions that people were going through. And then so instead of playing basketball, I still remember I was at Walter Nash Stadium with my dad, trialing for Hutt Valley Lakers, getting through to the next levels. And then I decided to do the army. So I did the RFL down in Wellington with a friend of mine, Afa Tuafenga. Big Simon dude, bro. He's a prison warden at Rimutaka still.
True.
And we're getting close to the finish line, and he was quite a way back. So I ran back to get him. I was like, bro, we got to go, man. We're going to fail. So I ran back to get him, and we both failed. So that was the first RFL. So I go to Dad's work. He's like, how'd you go? I said, man, I failed. He's like, what? I said, oh, Alpha was at the back, so I ran back to get him.
Went back to get him, yeah.
Yeah. And so I've always wanted to help people. I've just always backed the underdogs. I've always been the underdog, right? But there was always someone that looked after me at school. Was a guy called Mapu Antipas, still one of my best mates to this day. There's always someone that looked after me. There's always a protective mechanism that stopped me from getting a hiding because of my mouth. Right? I could always hide behind someone, right? And then, so I ended up joining the army, Basic 280. And again, man, just skinny and well. I think I just passed the press up. So I'm a beanpole, bro. I'm skinny as. I think it was something stupid like 55 kgs or something.
Wow.
And
like you would have been 6 foot
beanpole. Yeah, I was pretty tall, bro. Yeah. And so Wano and Savalio and Logan Cadwallader and Eddie Sanders and all those flipping ninjas. And we say
Ninjas
ninjas
are
because these
right.
guys are good soldiers, right?
Yeah.
They were ahead of me, and so Wano came to visit me. And back then, the platoon photograph in the instructor's room, they would scribble a blue face on all the people they thought were going to fail.
Is that
And
right?
so one of mine was one of those blued out faces, and one will come and grab me, and we went down to the dry canteen just to grab a munch. And he's like, I said, bro, what does it mean on the thing when they put the blue marker on the face? He goes, oh, bro, that's all the weak ones that are going to fail. I was like, bro, my face is up there. He's like, bro, just knuckle down, just do what they say, and just keep going, bro.
Yeah.
And then on basic, on basic training, like everybody, your first introduction to army life is a drill cane underneath your chin.
Yeah.
And that was, I still remember who it was, bro. It was Corporal Kavana on
Corporal
KV.
Cabana.
Yeah, rest in peace,
Yeah.
brother. I'm standing in the corridor, looking around. Apparently, you're not allowed to do that.
Neck minute.
So,
Yeah.
KV, neck minute, bottom of the drill cane, up against the wall, But because my dad was so well known, and this was the blessing and the curse, bro. You Tummers boy, I'm like, oh, geez, here we go. Dad's 6'6", this big, strong, well-respected, combined services, basketball, rugby, and guy.
Wow.
And the skinny little flipping wheat beanpole. Like, that's his son, really? And that started happening quite quickly. Oh, you Tummers boy, or you Tiny's boy. So my dad's name was Tamafeina. And when he first turned up, the instructor was like, what the hell? What sort of name is that? You're not a flipping hoary. We don't really know what you are, so we'll just call you Tiny, right? So he's been Tiny the whole time. And so I was always Tiny's boy, bro, when I was going through the army. And so good and bad. The good side is, man, love your dad. He's a good dude, man. Your family proud. So I got a lot of encouragement from some people. Yeah. And then when your dad's an MP and you're going to battalion, I got a whole lot of crap from other dudes. So, we get to battalion. Myself, Fox, Gates, Neil, Sar Collins, Little, Austin. We got posted to Alpha Company. Right. And we're just getting off the trucks in the quad. And so after basic, we had 4 weeks in battalion because battalion was away before we went back to core training. We come back from core training before we got posted into the unit. And we just got beasted, bro, because the guys that didn't deploy were pissed off about not deploying. So we got taken down to Santoff Forest and just run around for a week and had to build huts. And they just smashed us, bro. Oh, sorry, no, let me reframe. They invested in growing our character.
Nice. That's a good way of reframing it.
Yes. So they invested in growing our character, of which I'm extremely grateful.
Through arduous work. Yeah.
Through linking the mind-body connection. With what was the wording, bro? Change parades were like dress changing skills with a time limit for incentive or something.
Something along those lines. Yeah, I can't remember the wording, but I remember, definitely change parades.
I remember the Batman suit, bro, and the toothbrush with the blue toothpaste and all that sort of stuff. But anyway, so we get off the trucks. We're forming up in our respective companies, and we pulled over to Alpha Company, and they're calling out the names, Private Collins, Private Neil, Private Jensen. From Victor Company, this big scary married fella walks out the front and he goes, who the F is Private Jensen? I'm like, kia ora, my new life. Get your ass over here. So I go running over there. I'm standing at attention looking up this big scary dude. Your old man locked me up in Singapore. I'm going to get you, boy. I'm like, that was my welcome to battalion.
Welcome to battalion. Yeah.
Welcome to battalion, And so, back then, section commanders were living in the barracks, which was cool. And one of my first section commanders was Junior Griffith. And our 2RC was Dave Ave, and they both boxed, bro. So they're both quite hearty fellas.
True. And
we had quite a young section. And Cheech Mahue was on my section, bro.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. And so Cheech and I were the scout group. So he was the guy at the front that knew where he was going, and I was the dude at the back figuring out where the hell we were. Because you know how good he is in the bush, they were hopeless. So there's this term called sack of poos. Man, Barrel's a sack, bro. Barrel's a sack, man. Because... and then working with Cheech, you start picking up all of these skills. And I remember the first time we ever did sentry in pairs, right? So your mate goes out there and you set up the hoochies and you cook a feed, eat half, cover the other half up. He comes back, all that good stuff. Bro, Cheech did sentry, come back. I'm still trying to get the hoochie up. He's just like, and so, man, there's no success story at the start of this one, bro. Like, sack of poos. And then through the military systems approach to training, if you come at a certain level, which is the prequel, getting all the way through, and you keep your flipping team before self mindset, and you just do as you're told, you can't help but get strong and learn the skills, and you carry on. And so I'm a product of that system, just not wanting to be the weak link. So the first fear that we have, and we'll talk about fear quite a lot in this interview, the first healthy fear that's drummed into us is being the weak link. All right, and you know where this is going to go at the end of this conversation, bro. So the biggest fear is letting your mates down.
Yeah.
Bringing your team, or from us, our family name or our team into disrepute. Making a mistake, your mate gets hurt. So it's all about team before self, team before self. Selfish is a sin, right? And then through that, you form those brotherhoods, bro. Man, I love these dudes to this day. Further in the conversation, we'll cut a few away. But you're just adversity, shared adversity. That's what creates those bonds of brotherhood. Preaching to the choir on this podcast, I know. But it's really important that you understand that from my story, bro, because I am like the bare bottom. Like I keep saying G.I. Joe average, and I can say this to you now. I was nothing special.
I like how Bill frames it though. None of us is special.
Yeah.
So that was great.
But then there's nothing wrong with the word elite. And I was speaking to Beagle Flavel yesterday, bro. And Beagle and I never knew each other in the army, and he's a hard man. And we met in Australia out on the security circuit and became really, really good mates. Awesome. And he's the guy about intestinal fortitude, and there is only one standard. That's mine. If you don't like it, experience pain. Like, it's pretty simple. It's not a complicated situation to deal with, bro. Go left, the sun is shining. Go right, there is pain. I would prefer you go left. But I'll leave that discussion and that process up to you to decide. But you have half a second to decide. And because I love writing books because it's just an easy way to communicate a thought. And I'm going to write this book called, the cancer of isms.
Cancer of isms.
As soon as someone struggles with something, they call it an ism. As soon as someone's got an issue with elite, it's elitism. They think they're better than everyone else. They are better than everybody else. That's why they're at the elite level. Or those bloody All Blacks think they're flipping elitism. They think they're better. They are better than everyone else they're playing. Or these special forces guys flipping elitism. They are the best flipping soldiers we got. That's the standard. And so, the special side to me is that link to being the elite. Because we compete every day, bro. We compete for our life.
It's true.
We're competing against the enemy every day for our life, bro, and the life of our team. So you can kiss my ass, elitism. You want to compete? Come compete with us, bro, and we'll see whose oxygen supply gets shut off. That's the competition. And so now we're at the stage of the world where, man, I had a big fight with the handicap community. Hey, that's a really stupid fight to get involved in, but it's a fight that we had to take because I deal with people from all sorts of backgrounds, and one of the guys, and man, he's just an amazing dude. But he's in a wheelchair, and he posted this photo, and you've probably seen the photo online. It's a guy underwater in a swimming pool, fully clothed, standing on the bottom because he's buoyant, been underwater, and he's just staring at his wheelchair. And the whole metaphor of that, and I loved it. It was such a powerful photo. It's like, you don't define how I feel about myself, and in the environment that I choose, I can make you. It was real powerful.
Yeah, it can make you irrelevant.
Yeah. Apparently, that's ableism. Because I'm able-bodied and I'm using something with a wheelchair, that's ableism. It's my fault for my legs working and yours don't. I'm like, man, what?
I haven't heard that before.
So I cooked off, bro. Like, I cooked off hard. And I just went, man, if that's your definition, that's your label, that's your reality, man, go and enjoy how much that sucks. But I know too many people that are in that same situation that choose something different. Flipping amazing, man. I'm a good basketball player, but I don't think I'd ever play wheelchair basketball, bro. You seen that thing, man?
Yeah, I have.
That's brutal, bro. That's insane. Those dudes will never flip and crack up about ableism. No, not at all. So isms, bro. So the whole special side, man. I respect that. When we were back in Mortar's just before we left and Bill was there, hilarious. I just listened to his podcast, but I was just cracking up laughing because, we're back in that family sort of situation now. We ended up doing 6 months in Bosnia, which was just checkpoint duty, got posted to a whiskey company, all the rest of it. Actually got charged when I was in Bos. The official story is charged for being drunk on duty because you go around, meet all these militia people and you drink Slivovich.
Right.
We come back and got in a little bit of trouble, but the platoon commander at the time, I won't say who his name is, was going to try and install some character. I responded in a Samoan manner, which was not conducive to not getting charged. And then, but on that deployment, my grandfather died.
Oh.
And this was the first time I saw the glitches. This is the first time I saw, hang on a second, something's not right here in this whole system that I'm just fully committed to, right? So firstly, when my grandfather died, we were actually in Bosbro, and I was ringing him for Christmas, on Christmas Eve, and I was ringing where he was, and everyone's real hesitant. I was sorry, he died, he's dead. And so I was trying to get home. But the system said because he was my grandfather and not a direct parent, couldn't go back, right? And so that was the system. But everyone involved in the deployment went to bat for me, you know, so we got to get him home. And the agreement was I had to pay my own way, $5,500. A lot of money back then,
Wow,
bro, you know,
a lot of money, yeah,
years
bro.
old. And so my parents went to the RSA. Our family has always grown up in the RSA, huge amount of respect for the RSA. And so they put up $1,000 to help. And we went back for the funeral and everything else. And just Bosnia was nothing, bro. Bosnia was just checkpoints, right? So there's no threat, no trauma, no nothing. It's just shared experience stuff. But even coming home from that, I didn't like being around people. You're not walking on grass, that sort of stuff, you know. It wasn't crazy high level stuff, but it sort of made you aware of different things. And then having come through all of this in battalion, ending up with you know, competent soldier skills. I like to think I'm competent when I was at that level, you know. Baggy, you know, end up support company, quite fit, quite strong, and then most of the boys were doing selection. So Cheech went and did selection, Wano, Caddy, Sanders, man, heaps of guys we know, right? GT, I'll be in for all those dudes. And then, you know, Dad asked me, he's like, son, do you ever thought about going on selection? I'm like, no. The only part of me that wanted to try selection, and I talked to Cheech about this, the only part of me that wanted to try selection was I wanted to know if I was fit enough and mentally strong enough. I was curious. And so when I discussed this with Cheech, he's like, do not do that. He goes, bro, I'll tell you, selection is testing your reason for wanting to be there. He goes, if you boil everything else down, it's just going to, bro, you're not going to be no one's physically strong enough to handle it. No one's mentally strong enough to handle it. Those guys that want to be there will be there. They're the ones that will get through. And then, like you say, even if you pass selection, you go on cycle, it's still testing. Do you actually want to be here? And I don't want to be in special forces, man. Just like running around with 4 dudes doing all that other sort of, not being able to talk, bro. Me, come on now. It's like,
bit noisy.
It's like, hang on a second. But I had a couple of really good wins in a lot of our close country stuff, because I love being in the bush, bro. Like I find I was always running around the bush with my dog when I was a kid, and I feel at home in there. Not the worry side, I've never hunted, but I always felt comfortable in the bush. Yes, I never had a desire to want to do it, but I always wanted to sort of to do it as a test. Which is why it's all now TV stuff, right? Because a lot of people are curious. A lot of people are curious if they've got what it takes, you know. And then so we were quite fit and strong support company, and then when you're in support company and you're senior soldiers, you got the run of the place, right? And I remember all the ninjas, all the Jason Portes and the William Moffats and all those flipping ninjas were out running around doing ninja stuff. And I think it was like there was a deployment. That's right. I finished playing combined services basketball and come back to camp, and everyone else was they were over in Aussie. I think it was Green Fern on one of the deployments.
Okay,
And then the rest of the boys were doing like the Queen's Medal shoot. Chad Halley, all those dudes doing the Queen's Medal shoot. And so it was just us dregs left back in battalion. Right? It was just us sporty guys that had come back from basketball, or guys on LDs, or just the normal dudes, right? And then there was a camp skill at arms, and battalion had to put a team in. And so I was trying to think who the officer was. He'd just come off course, but he was a really good platoon commander. I was trying to think his name. He did boxing as well. Pere, I think it was Pere.
Pere.
Yeah, quite a square-jawed Māori fella, and come in with Milo and Jeremy Holmes and a few other guys. But he was a really good platoon commander because he could box as well. So we all got formed up. There's not many of us there, right? And he's just like, okay, we're the Skillet Arms, Camp Skillet Arms team. We're representing battalion. And it was myself, a guy Adams. I think he was on CB, bro. That's why he didn't. He got drunk and didn't turn up. So like, it's the mischief, dude. It's like, this team would not make the battalion Skillet Arms team. You know, you wouldn't even get on the list, right? And then so we won it. we
Yeah,
won
right.
because it had all the components that you need to succeed. We had a really good leader, and we loved each other, and we were just having a blast.
Awesome.
Like, no one expected us to get anywhere.
Yeah.
Bloody Petty's like, win, lose, or draw, we're gonna give every flipping drop of blood and sweat we've got to this. All right, it's us. We're the last dudes. We're representing we're representing our whānau here, right?
Yeah.
And so no, we just did the best we did. But he was a good leader, bro. It's like there was no other way to wiggle around. It's like, from here we're doing this. And that's the fundamental difference between the military model and any other model that exists psychologically out there. At no stage does the military ask you what your why is. At no stage does the military even hint that what they're asking you to do is impossible.
Wow. Yeah. It's great.
There's no point. It's like, why do you want to join the police? Why do you want to do this? What's your why? Simon Sinek. I used to email Simon Sinek when I was in Iraq, bro. He used to talk heaps. Now he's too famous, right? And so it's all about start with why. It's like, bro, we don't care about why. My why is none of your business. You just show me how I'll do it, right? Because that's the military mindset.
Yeah.
That's why every command is right from here. We are going to. You are going to. You must. You know, there's no. Bro, is that actually possible for flipping 8 men to carry this power pole? You know, and then we're going to do sit-ups and throw this power pole at another flipping dude's opposite. Like, that's physically impossible if you did the math. Like, if you tried to do that on a mine site in Australia on a take 5 or a slam on a risk assessment, no. And you know what? It gets better. Let's stand it vertically, and from here you have to have this power pole vertical sitting
on top of
You know, no one goes, is this actually possible? They're like, well, they're telling us to do it, must be able to do it. So how do we do it? You know? So it actually removes the why, it removes the doubt. Military training is very, very clever. And then so that was the fundamental difference. So we just smashed this. Like, I think the heaviest thing I've ever carried in my military career was the Land Rover. You know how you have to strip and assemble a Land Rover and walk it around Engineers Pond? And so you got, you know, you've done that. You got the no, it's a stripped out engine. It's like it's basically just the chassis, the wheels and the axle, and you've got these poles.
Gotcha.
And then you have to break this Land Rover down, carry all the components around the other side of Engineers Pond and put it back together.
Together.
Far out, man. That's heavy, bro. And like, when you're a tall dude, like you're a tall dude too. Like, short people in the army, they suck. You know, there should be a height restriction in the army. You fellas suck, man. Like, you got to go half as far down and half as far up on press-ups and chin-ups. And then when you're at the front and we're at the back, everyone's just hanging on everything. You know, like, come on now. Just get out of the way. And so myself and Adams were like the same height. We're like, we'll be really good. No, man. So, you know, tallest at the back, shortest at the front. It's like, come on, man. And that was the heaviest thing I think I've ever carried. But you don't stop, because you don't want to let your team down. Yeah. Like, and you'll just drive yourself into unconsciousness, you know, or whatever, because you do not want to let the team down, because the fundamental emotion is actually love, bro. Yeah. It's like, you love your team. I love these guys, bro. You know? And greater love have no man than to lay his life down for his friend. You know, it's love is the fundamental emotion, but it's hidden. You're not allowed to express this unless you can't express that. Yeah. Oh, you're allowed to only if you're wasted. I love you, bro. You know, I'll die for you, bro. You never hear that stuff sober, and we say it a lot sober now, right? And so that's where we were. But when we come back from Bosnia, it's like, man, if this is soldiering, man, that sucks. That's just manning checkpoints and stuff. That's quite boring. So we had this plan, you know, because we partied hard on leave, Paris, Belgium, Amsterdam, London. It's like, okay, man, we met all these drivers for the UN. So the plan was, we'll go back to battalion, we'll get a posting to transport platoon, and then we'll get our HT licenses, we'll go back over to Europe, and we'll drive and get paid in pound and just party and score heaps of chicks, right? Makes perfect sense to, you know, young soldiers. And then, of course, when we come back, I got sent on a mortar course, you know, because you don't have a choice much, really. Right? You're posted. And the word posted is quite significant, bro. You're a parcel. You're a thing. You're not a person. You just get posted. I need 3 of these and 2 of these. Yeah, bro, I'll send you Hortai, flipping Jensen, and flipping Teparo. I say, what now? And here in your podcast, it's like, okay, so this is the plan. Cool. Sorry. Anyway. You know, so we did this mortar course, bro. It sucked, bro. was the worst course I've ever done in the New Zealand Army. I hated it. I never wanted to see another mortar in my life. It was
Why was
just
that?
we just had two instructors that were mates, and we just had two mortar debts, and they just keep crashing us into each other. They were just having fun, bro. We were just toys for them to play with. Like, we got really good at it. Like, okay, you need to bring this mortar into and out of action in less than 60 seconds. I'm like, fucking what? And you first do it, it's like 4 minutes, you know. And all right, you fellas suck. Now individually, you have to bring this mortar into action in under 60 seconds. Like, can I do this? And then, of course, through the systems approach to training, which I'm going to come back to a lot,
Yeah.
you get to do it, you know. And then because when you do it, you just do it. And so your original, how do I do this sort of stuff, bro? I just did it. You know, it's just like it didn't occur to me that I couldn't do it. And if you want me to do it faster, tell me I can't do it, or I don't have the right to do it. Bro, you can't do this. You're a band 4 baggy. Hold
Just
my beer.
watch me. Yeah.
You can hold my beer. You know, and so there was that side. And so a lot of my stuff was necessity.
Yeah.
I had to. I didn't have a choice. If I don't sort this crap out, then I'm going to lose my marriage. If I don't sort this crap out, man, I'm going to get sick. If I don't sort this crap out, I'm going to lose the house. Like, a lot of it was necessity.
Yeah.
But then a lot of it is, there's an inherent, I don't know if this is an infantry thing, bro, or just a Kiwi soldier thing, or it's just a Kiwi thing. There's just an inner rebel. There's just a inner mischief guy that just wants to see if they can do it or get away with it. We don't want to hurt anyone. We don't want to break any law. Well, that's debatable. But there's a part of us that just wants to give it a go.
Yep.
For us. And the difference between Kiwis and Aussies, and I love Aussies, bro. We've all worked with Aussies, and yourself especially. The difference between Kiwis and Aussies is Aussies, man, they're up front. I'm going to win this. They want to win everything. They're turned on the whole time.
Hard out.
You know, and when they lose, they're shocked. How did this happen? This is impossible. We're Australians. How do we lose that? How do these guitar playing dudes turn up flipping still drunk? I can still smell alcohol, and they flipping blitz us. Look at them all. They're still asleep. And then where did all my stuff go? Where's all my shiny stuff gone? Where's those Kiwis gone? It's like, you know, that's the Kiwi Aussie military story in a nutshell. You know? And so when it's time for us to turn it on, there's just this inherent, what if I can do this? But it's for you. It's not to show anyone else. So I want to see if I can do this. Where Aussie's like, I'm going to do this and everyone better get out of my way. And then so when you put the Anzacs together, man, that's a really cool combination.
It is.
Because I think with Pacific Island culture, we're a warrior culture, but a fully functional village in the islands or a fully functional village in Te Ao Māori, you're not at war 100% of the time.
Yeah.
You have to be prepared for it. Man, you're trying to get food and build and grow, and you're doing heaps of other stuff. And Pacific Islanders and Māoris, our cultures is really about having fun. If we could choose an emotion, it would be joy and laughter, bro.
Yeah.
You know, we want to be having fun. But if something threatens us, then look out, because we won't stop. And that's where the skill comes out, and that's when that power comes out, because we only fight for generally 2 reasons: family, or you're trying to dominate us or bully us in some way, shape, or form. So for me, being the bullied kid, growing up in Ngāti 2 and having that sort of side of me, I mean, I was never the banger in the section, bro. I was always Pio Aleo, Junior Griffith, Joe Taipare, Luke Aikens. I mean, how many other people can I flip and just throw under a bus?
Yeah.
Really
Get them.
Get them out there. Boots, flipping, just Cookie, Sabalito, Joe Wairiki. Yeah, let's just throw. I was never the banger, bro. These are all the tough guys. They're all the league players, you know. The players, you know, I don't want to get weird or cold. That's crazy talk. And so, but you still gain those skills, you know. So what I learned and what I know now is I've only ever looked for 3 things, bro: motive, competency, and value. Motive. Why do people do what they do? You know, are their motives pure?
Yeah.
Are they any good at it? You know, because we won't, like me, bro. I tried my hardest when I started Sakapoos, right? So motive was pure. Wanted to be a functioning member of the section. Competency, not yet. Value to the team. Oh, we have a bit of a giggle, but don't give that dude the gun to carry. Until you then get to the point where you're that competent band 4 baggy. And man, I tell you what, and I think you'll agree with me on this, a band 4 baggy from battalion. Okay, I say again, all after motive, competency, and value.
Beautiful.
So yeah, so I think you'd agree with me, bro. A band 4 baggy from battalion they just don't know just the amazing skills that they've just picked up to get to that level. If you are a band 4 baggy anywhere in any you've hit military competency. That breadth of skills and experience is so much higher in the civilian world if you learn one thing, and that's communication. And that's and so we did 5 years in battalion, and I always wanted to be a cop.
Yeah,
I always wanted to be a policeman. I was like, if there's something that I wanted to do, it's just flipping hunting. Still a battalion soldier, you want to get out there and hunt bad guys. And I said this in one of my speeches. We've got the role of the infantry.
Yeah.
So to seek out and close with the enemy, to kill or to capture him, to seize and to hold ground, to repel attack by day or night, regardless of weather, season, or terrain. That's our role. So we know what we do. And then over in the police, it was reduce the incident and effects of crime through the detection and apprehension of offenders, maintaining law and order, and enhancing public safety. So, well, they got a role too. So I just went zip, and just zipped them together.
Yeah.
So it was to seek out and close with the enemy, kill or capture them, if authorized, justified, and excused by law. Seize and to hold ground. Okay, that's my AO, or flipping the area that I'm operating in, regardless of weather, season, or terrain. Kiss my ass, I'm never going to be wet or cold again. I'm not in the army. And then so I was learning how to zip this. First night shift in Levin, I laid under a bush. This girl's house. Sounds weird, right? Because that was my first arrest warrant I was given for failing to appear in court. And so I laid under this bush outside, and it pissed down, bro. And it was cold, and I just laid there, and I'm like, ambushes that I've laid in and froze my nuts off, just waiting for for someone to walk through and shoot blanks at them. It's gonna mean something now. And I stayed there, bro. And it was only like 3 hours. And then she turns up, and I've jumped out of the bushes. So
yeah, right.
So that was the first time I got to use that military mindset. And then after we got showed the military side again.
Yeah.
Fitting my boots.
Yeah, right. You were still doing that while you're in the police force.
Yeah, because down at police college, you had to split your shoes and your boots. Right?
Oh, okay.
I'll talk about police college in a second.
Yeah.
So that material side, I started charging people. So I charged for boots and $20 for shoes, because that's the downtime to decompress, is when you're spitting or you're ironing.
Yeah.
I still love ironing, bro. Ironing and spitting shoes. It's
true.
The decompress time,
Yep. Fair
and
enough.
so I made $1,300, and I went down to Puriurua and I bought my wife's engagement ring.
Oh, wow.
So that was the first bit. And I saw the first clash between civilians and soldiers. So we turn up on the Sunday. So for anyone that's a cop here, especially an ex-army cop, Lance Rolo, Lance and I were on the same wing. Wing 1 was from the unit.
Yeah.
Another machine. And so we're standing on parade as like recruits on the Sunday night. We're all in our civvies, and there's all these dudes in police uniform there. They're doing that rah 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 stuff, at like 0.1% of what it is in the army, right? So we're sort of enjoying ourselves, and we didn't know anyone, so we're just standing there. And then the guy standing next to me is like, "Oh, what a load of crap!" And he's talking. I'm like, I'm just like, shush, bro, shush, And so the instructors are coming over, and this guy's arguing for him. I'm like trying to fade, just trying to stay out of the way. And they're like, nah, right, there's everyone next door to the pool. So,
one and all.
What's the first thing you do as an ex-soldier when everyone get told to go somewhere? You just start fading to the back, and they told everyone in the pool. I'm like, I'm not throwing my room keys in the pool. And so I pretend to throw my room keys in the pool, and then like, anyone that's found the room key in the pool, jump in and get it. So these guys jump in and get it, and sort of fade in the back. But there's a that are fading to the back, also looking at each other. Hard Lance Bro squared off, like he's a well-built dude. And they go, right, everyone walk back up to the barracks, and at police college in Puriurua, it's quite barracks.
Right.
And as we're walking up there, we're fading to the back again. And then we get channeled in between these two buildings, and we're like, no. So we fade into the standing underneath the trees, watching what's happening. There's about 4 of us. They're sort of trees, and no one could see us going on. And then everyone got egged, bro. It was an egg ambush. Right? And then while that's happening, we're all introducing ourselves under the trees. Oh, hey, Lance, bro. Hey, bro, what unit? Oh, battalion. We had Mortar was from Gizzy, and another fella, just a couple of Māori fellas, you know, and they'd done TF. Was a sort of, hang on a second, this doesn't feel like we sort of faded into the... And then and these guys weren't instructors, they were just from the class in front of us.
Right, yeah.
And apparently that was the thing, when the new went through, you do all the stuff to them. So, sweet, that's cool, and that's a police thing.
Yeah.
But then when we had our first parade, bro, there was a civvy fella. And no disrespect to civvies, but in this mindset, they're the enemy when we first start this thing, right? You know, just that's the way it is to start with. And I'll talk through this after, because we're civvies before we join, and once we're out with civvies again. So we do crap on civvies, bro, when we're in there. We do, because you've got to have a different mindset to do what we do. And so we had the civvy dude, and I've met a lot of civvy dudes like this, and I'm sure you have too, that when they get in a position of type authority or any sort of power, they really, really enjoy it, you know, because you know, they've watched all the movies and all that sort of stuff, right? And a couple of Full Metal Jacket wannabes. When we had our first spray, we spit our boots, and I'm now standing there, and this guy walks over and looks at my shoes and he goes, "Did you paint those stuff? Is you sure you didn't paint if I spit those?" And he goes, "You know what, Staff? You stand on them if you want. If they crack, you take them home and you polish them." You know? So I was like, man, you know. And we had who was down there? We had a guy, Julius Corrent, who was like 6'7".
Right.
Māori fella. He's and I think there's a short ex-army Māori fella, and he was one of the other instructors, and we all just sort of gelled.
Yeah.
But we immediately felt that as soon as they knew who the ex-military guys were, on the positive side, right on to help people and stuff like we did. Yeah. But there was always that, you know, a civilian element that wanted to have a dig at the army boys, you know, because we're not that smart, bro. Like, and when I failed school, I went into battalion. My intellect, schooling was not that high. I'm terrible at maths. I just managed to pass in the police. And so the schoolwork was a real struggle for a lot of us, because it's really, really big words, and most of them are longer than Weebix. And the military language has to be like at its minimum. It's all flipping eyebrows and hand signals and everything else. And then any verbal communication is not much, because you have to got to be tactical, right? And opposite, you got to extrapolate, talk about your feelings and all that sort of stuff, and you have to study. And most of us haven't come from any schooling at that level. None of us done university stuff or sixth form stuff. And so initially, struggle like a lot of some guys struggle until I learned how to interpret the words. And so I got really words interpreting legislation. Like, I can teach anyone on this podcast right now in less than flipping 60 seconds how to read any legislation.
Man, how did you do that? How did you learn to... It sounds like you've taught yourself to be able to break things down in terms of the wording sense that you're talking about, because I can resonate with a lot of the stuff that you just spoken there around inadequacies of myself with regards to particularly with education.
Yeah. Multi-choice, you either spell abacadabra because you got a 30% chance. Use the answer looks the same or is spelt the same. Like if it's got an ION, then I was picking another ION if there's one in the question. And so which didn't go. But I just started, I did something different, bro.
Right.
I try to find 3 different ways to ask the question.
Wow, okay. Yeah.
So what's an example? 3 males walk up to another male and say to him, "Give me your phone." Is theft or robbery? And so robbery is theft accompanied by violence or threat of violence, or if there's 2 or more people or weapon involved, becomes aggravated robbery, right? You know that now. So instead of going, what is that, theft or robbery? And about theft, like, what are they asking? How are they asking the question? What are the... And then that's where the connection between combat target indication mix with deconstructing the sentence.
Right.
So if you and I in a CP role, we walk into an environment and the energy changes and people are calling out, say, indication, like the dude on the left, him first, then him, then this, then that, and you're running that, then it's really good math, bro. It's math without math. So anyone watching this that doesn't have a military background, combat's math, no emotion. It's just components. And one thing I always did in the CP teams were the first math that I wanted was remove the client. So subtraction, remove the client from the situation. Man, then we're on, bro. Like,
yeah.
whoever's on the other side is then where let's go. I was always remove the client from the situation. No matter what situation was going on, I'm always looking at the situation first.
Yeah.
And then let the boys do what the boys are trained to do, right? And so then when I was deconstructing those questions, I'm looking at, okay, so there's 3 guys. About those guys, there's a cell phone involved. That's the hinge point, and it's this he's got ownership of. Then I started deconstructing the question, asked myself different ways to ask the question.
Nice.
Went off, because to ask a question, then multi-choice. I teach Papua New Guineans about multi-choice, and Pacific Islanders we get confused with multi-choice. You go, yes, that's wrong. No, that's right. Yeah, nah, but so choice can be quite confusing. And if you've done any LLN stuff or any instructing with different cultures, you know that, right? And so with the PNG board, there's going to be 4 answers. And these 4 answers are 4 people. One person is the truth, and he's going to hide. You got to. But one of them's a liar, and he's going to be really, really easy to pick. So the first thing you do is you pick the liar and get rid of him.
Yeah.
So now you're still looking for the truth, and then there's 2 that will try and play tricks on you. They're the tricksters. And so we don't know what the answer is yet, but which is it's aggravated robbery. Well, there's no, aggravating something bad. So it can't be that. Now I've only got 3 answers, And then and then through that process of elimination, it's just how I started learning stuff. Wow. And then I invented a conversation card game, bro, because cards, Euchre, and all the rest of it. So, good old Euchre.
Euchre, yeah.
You want to learn eye signals and talking to your mate without moving and telling them to pick it up or put it down or pick a, That's a grave on this one. Spades because he spades, So,
bring back some memories, man. I love Euchre.
Yeah. And they go diamond. You're like, how does "don't dig us a grave" equate to,
Table talk.
Table talk. When I learned how to sort of I invented this conversation card game where words became cards, and I just assigned different colors where it was all sort of coming from. Even when I was interviewing subjects, drawing cards while they were talking to me, so I could map this. So I've always been like a visual, like my crayon, bro. I like drawing stuff.
Is that like the stuff that I've seen on your? Sorry to cut in. Is that like the stuff that I've seen on the Academy with the diagrams and stuff that you have that have been downloading? Yep. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, sorry, carry on.
Because a process diagram is really good, and we've always got SMEAC and lesson plan mindset sitting in our head, right? Situation, mission, execution, general outline, command and sig, right? So that's a good overview, and a lesson plan is really the mechanics. But just like how we speak, just like how we run in combat drills, there is no emotion in SMEAC and there's no emotion in lesson plans. So initially you can get an overview of what you're dealing with in lesson plan format, but you'll come unstuck if you don't have the communication skills. And so people will like the fact that you can achieve this stuff, but don't like being around you because you're scared. Or you will devalue the fear that they feel stupid. They're like, Dion, I really, this is happening. And then you're like, and they're like, hadn't thought of it that way because they're more worried about they're going to communicate it to the people. We don't give a shit, right?
Yeah.
It's like when you read Men from Venus. Yeah. It's like, and then so it's going to go everywhere because whenever I speak, it's for, I don't know who's listening, so it's going to go to anyone that's listening. 10 people might be listening right now, and 9 of them are going, shut this dude up, Joe, for God's sake. And the other person's like, that's exactly what I've been waiting to hear.
Yeah.
When it comes men-woman relationship stuff, when a woman brings a problem, of the problem, they want you to empathize with why this is a problem to them. And that emotional side and mindset, and we come, so we live in the masculine world, we live in the world of Ngāti too, and then the world of war and death. Civies are out here with rongo, right? This is peace and emotions and love and all the rest of it. We're in the darkness, bro. We're trained to go in the darkness and take life. Justify that by, or validate that by things happening to things that we care about. We just go, right. Which creates another problem when you come out, reassess everything else and you were doing, and some of those missions nothing but a political or core values. If you've lost, I'm really feeling for the guy in Afghan at the moment with, all that sort of stuff going on, which I'm sure we'll get to. And so, if that is, your significant other comes home and says, "How's your day?" Like, horrible day, because every time I speak to people, like, and so in the combat math mind, we go, problem solved.
Yeah.
So why are you bothering me with this? Of saying, why? What happened? And not like, why? What happened? But oh, it's because this happened, this happened, this happened. And turn around and say, I can see why you're upset, because that other person, she's just shitting on him. You're allowed to be upset on that one, hun. It's cool. And then, so when you're empathizing with how they're feeling, it conflicts all of that pressure. It's just a pressure release. Yeah. And then it's do you want me to help you with how to get, or you just wanted to unload that because I'm happy to carry it? I just wanted you to know, it was just annoying me. Okay, cool. But she's like, oh, so what do I do? I said, do you want me to give you some advice? Because about money. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Do that thing you do. What's that thing you do? When you fix it and piss everybody off. I'm like, 50% a compliment. Now I would know, well, tell me the words that Karen used. Like, words. Then I play the conversation card game in my mind, and I track her words back to a source of motion. And back to a source of motion, it will go to a fear or an insecurity.
Right.
And so I just got really good at mapping words and how things work in a way that made sense to me.
Yeah.
And so when you do surveillance stuff, or you're having to, use a skill, you have to go and make contact with someone, elicit a certain amount of information, and then conversation without them knowing what information that you took.
Yeah.
That's probably the opposite of that. And I do a lot of opposites. We're trained to do something in the darkness without consent. We compete for our lives. I'm going to die, you're going to die. Right? Like that's the math. And then from these things, because you're told to do it and that's your role and everything else. But primarily, weaknesses are making them come true. We've got to get in some, we're going to find the weak point. And then when you get really good at this, if you want to absolutely destroy someone, you take their strongest. And you find the strongest part of their perimeter and you just rip that to pieces, bro, and then nothing else is going to... Right, it's there. They're picking the biggest dude and knocking his ear. I'm going to mess with you. Yeah, so primarily our identifying fears and weaknesses in people and making that come true, or projecting in such a way that I can see your weakness. The ability to project that energy. People just stay away from me. Yeah. Nothing's going to stop you. And so I'm spinning it around and saying, I see what you're scared of. Firstly, I'm not going to activate that by being the scary guy. But I know what you're scared of. Now I can speak in such a way that alleviates that fear. And I can protect you from that which you fear. And the scary side of me, you can stand behind and I'll protect you from. Which is why it's the lion. Because when you stand behind, like if you just run around like a lion, like most of the boys do when we first come out, you scare people, bro. You just scare people. But when they understand what your nature is, that you're there to help and protect them, they feel safe. But there's still not that connection because there's no empathy. You're not communicating in such a way that you are sharing and acknowledging that which they fear.
Yeah.
Because fear has such a negative connotation. So probably the next part I'd love to talk about now, bro, is fear. And the meaning that you put on words.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I just wanted to sort of touch on a couple of things and then have you speak about that fear, because I've loved everything that you've mentioned like this. There's so much to unpack with you, Dion, with regards to how you've broken things up, the way that you're explaining things. We could delve like literally for a long time just into each section, you know what I mean? But I'm really grateful, and I just want to acknowledge and thank you. I'm grateful that you're expanding it out in so many different ways, because you're 100% right. Some of our listeners and audience will hear those and it will be the thing that they need to hear. Some people might be, oh yeah, I'm familiar with that, or whatever the case might be. Yep. But I appreciate you doing that. So yes, by all means, please, I'd love for you to speak. I just had a quick question. You may have sort of already answered it before we jump into the fear, was why you chose the name Lion Academy was it because of those parts that you just spoke about? Then the strength that they have, the ability to.
No, it
What was
evolved.
that?
So when it first started, it was Success for Soldiers. So the first company set up was Success for Soldiers, military mindset, civilian success, all about how you use SMEAC and lesson plans, and IAs and section drills and all the rest of it to bring that into that from what I learned in the lesson through my journey.
Gotcha.
And so everything was successful. The logo was half soldier with the weapon, and the other half was businessman. And so we did that side, but there was so many clashes with it's just there was so many clashes with that stuff we did for veterans through Success for Soldiers, PTSD, that's built, bro. That's sitting there, it's all done. Yeah. And then when we evolved the speaking and everything else, I became the confidence coach, because how I fear from what I was doing is I had an interaction with an Indian guy. His name is Vikas Malkani. And Vikas, I'll send you this link, and this is your acknowledgement that we spoke about in this conversation. So Vikas is an Indian guy, and he is the world's wisdom coach. He's a wisdom guru. That's his gift.
Right.
So people come from all around the world to sit down with Vikas, share with Vikas what they want, and he just has to just show you your higher advice on what you should do, and he doesn't charge for it when it happens on a gift sort of side of things. He's like, every now and again this will happen, and I just have to give it to you. There's no money involved and all the rest of it, but I asked that when you get to where you're going, that you would acknowledge me, that it comes from Vikas Malkani. And so to stab him at a lunch, and a little bit of background before to unpack that a little bit. I only spoke a little bit about it.
I was like, did I just hear right?
When I was a regional operations manager for APAC out of Singapore, you go to a lot of functions, leadership conferences and conferences and conferences and conferences, and it's big money, bro. Like there's big money there from sponsorship. These are anything from $5 to $20 million functions, and you got to pay $5 to $10 grand to attend, all that sort of stuff.
Right.
That's just the environment. And speaker came on, and bro, he was crap. He was flipping hopeless, mate. And when I say hopeless, I studied leadership. We've all read pretty much all the same books, because you'll get to a point where you run out of books to read on leadership. John C. Maxwell's 5 levels of leadership. You'll read all of Tony Robbins stuff. You can Simon Sinek's got some leadership stuff. Dan Sullivan, Bob Proctor. I mean, there's heaps of stuff. We've all read these books. Peter Drucker, and you go through all of these books to see stuff to try and find some clarity. And this is me again, finding all these different leadership.
Yep.
And this guy's just regurgitating it all. I'm like, read that. Yeah, read that book too. Read that too. Bro, he's just regurgitating stuff that.
Is that right?
And so he consults on leadership. He hasn't led anything. No. So while he's talking, I'm going on his LinkedIn profile. What has he done? We're all flipping something, So he hadn't led under any sort of pressure. But by that stage, I learned to keep this shut, bro, and just question. Like, questions are really important. And I learned that from police, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm friends with everyone, I'm really, really easy to find. And I said, hey, that leadership speaker. And before I could say anything else, he goes, he was great, wasn't he? I was like, yeah, he was. How much you pay him? 20 grand.
Far out.
You paid him 20 grand to speak for 45 minutes. He's like, yeah. Speakers get paid between 10 and 20 grand if they're at that sort of level. I was like, I'm in the wrong job. I thought I was caning it, I mean, man, a whole lot of stuff. I mean, you can read my book to find out all the other stuff that's happened, but huge amount of debt, marriages on the rocks, the house, just not in a very good space.
Yep.
Caning at this point, we're over the magical 10. I mean, if you're getting paid over 10 grand a month to do something in regards to security, bro, you're doing good. If you're not dodging bombs and bullets, right? Yeah. So if you're in some sort of consultant role, auditing role, my dad was the auditor for Marriott hotels, bro.
Wow.
How I scored that, man, but what a kid. Just flying around doing security audits at Marriott. Man. And then out of nowhere, because the Iraq stuff, his social circles, Jew, Ken Fatwida, all those sorts of dudes, they're all my dad's sort of background, my age group and social circle. And mum wouldn't let him go to Iraq when I went to Iraq, right? he stayed as country manager out there in the Philippines, and man, if you know the Philippines, you know Mindanao and Marina Bay, and when people are
I
doing the
don't know
dodgy
well,
stuff,
but
it's
yeah.
dangerous places, bro. And then Dad rings me, they want me to go to Afghanistan. I was like, what's the job? Aid, United Nations something. They gave some aid to some company that said they were based in Kabul, and the odd job would come where you'd have to go to Kabul and make sure that there's actually an office there. They're not just giving money to flipping ghosties, right? And he goes, "What do I do?" I said, "Just go." But he's like, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "Sit on the next plane, go to Kabul, follow your nose, and enjoy it." And I said, "If you get killed while you're over there, I'll just tell Mum I told you to go. You know, just it's something you've always wanted to do." That was the itch that he needed to scratch. You know? So just go, mate. And Dad being 6'6" and brown, and been around the block a lot, bro. Like my dad's a smart guy.
Yeah.
You know, when you connect with that first go in country, you know, you've got to have tight relationships and tight stuff. You've got to have your stuff squared, man. You know, because if you annoy that person, it'll just be a phone call and, you know, see you later.
Yeah.
And Dad just had this awesome connection with this guy and rolled all around Kabul, bro, by himself with this local fella in a soft skin car and just did his thing.
Right.
And, you know, and then he come back, he goes, "I absolutely loved it." And like most of us that have worked overseas, we keep those connections.
Yeah.
Because it's just horrible places for people to live.
Yeah.
And then, you know, so we did all that. And coming back to fear, most of my concepts talk about subconscious bodyguards. Really, really easy to understand that every sort of emotion that you have is there for your purpose. Happy, sad, horny, angry, that they all have an outcome that's required. That is absolutely natural. You have all of these emotions, right? And so fear is emotion to keep. So there's nothing wrong with that. Fear is absolutely a bodyguard. However, with military training, what they do, for want of a better term, is get off. They take the conscious mind out, keep that distracted, tired sort, just gets it out of the way, and they go in and they reprogram you, and they basically just turn your brain 180. That's the simplest way to understand military. They just turn 180. So we're going to get you to run towards everything that you naturally want to run away from. All the else like communication and caring about people, we're going to get rid of all of that because you're going to have to put holes in these people, right? And so you just turn around. Super, super effective. You don't have to think. Muscle mindset, contact left, contact front, contact rear, ambush, just muscle mindset, right? 10,000 flipping hours to get muscle mindset. So you program and they put the conscious mind back in there, they close the top. There you go. And then you need to do, you tell your body to do something, and if it doesn't listen, you make it do it, right? So we use force and energy to push. Masculine culture on their side, out there with two killing people. And our energy is to go forward, right? And if we have a higher skill set than that, we can hide that energy. And it pops out when we need it to.
Yeah.
When you go into the civilian, facing the other way, you know? So of course you're going to clash when you... And so fear, for someone that's not trained in the military, I mean, in the military, fear is fuel. And you use fuel as healthy fear, like, and number one has been the weak link, you know, and being responsible for your... That's the only fear you have is stuffing up. And so, how many times you've checked it 1,000 bloody times? You know it's good, but you're going to check it one more time. And an ant has walked across it, pooed on it, and loosened it by flipping half a flipping, you know, millimeter. That, you know, when this, I mean, because that fear is a healthy fear, cannot be weak link. And so when we get out there into the civilian world, they don't have control of this fear. They've got fear of judgment. They've got fear of success, they've got fear of failure, they've got all of these fears. They haven't been trained on how to deal with fear. And so we walk a whole lot of fear, you might as well just fill the tank up. But we get to... And so you start off by alleviating everyone else's fear or to keep people away from you. And then hearts and minds goes from being nice to people to 2 center massive on the face, right? Hearts and minds, bro. And then in my mind, I'm like, yeah, hearts and minds. No, not that way, bro. We're going to talk hearts and minds. And then you still have this military versus civilian, where there's no power over you, and fear has power over civilians. You become rough in your communication stuff. Even if you say nothing, you're projecting this. So coming back to Vikas Malkani about, fear and before I stabbed them, I heard the speaker speak, an insane amount of money. He was poos. I wanted to learn how to become a speaker. Had a couple of friends in Toastmasters and stuff, so I was rolling around there, but it wasn't. That's just giving people the confidence to speak. Man, I'm confident to speak. I wanted to be good at speaking to get paid to speak.
Right.
And so I.
Bless you.
Chickens, no COVID police. So sorry, bro, couldn't resist it. We'll try not to talk about that.
Yeah, we'll try. All good if we do.
Try our hardest not to talk about it.
Actually, I forgot to ask if you were vaccinated.
No.
Good thing it's remotely then.
Yeah. So no, not yet. Undecided. I'm not fussed to get vaccinated. I'm fussed to not get vaccinated. So I'm sitting on the fence until, not against it, not for it. I'm under.
Yeah. Fair enough.
So yeah, coming back to Vikas Malkani.
Yep.
Simon, it's like, how?
Yeah.
So I went to this speakers boot camp run by PSS, Asia Professional Speakers something.
Right.
2 top speakers in. These are pretty good speakers. Like one of them gets paid 25 grand to speak, owns 2 islands in Sweden. It's about creativity.
Wow.
Frederick Aaron. And actually let me stay in me getting an apartment in Malaysia. Awesome dude.
Right.
Awesome dude. Hopeless instructor, right? Then we had Ron Kaufman. Ron Kaufman is a New York Times best-selling author. Service. Done heaps of stuff in Singapore and stuff. He's like top dog when it comes to services. Books are everywhere, right? All through the airport and all the rest. Probably the hardest working speaker I've ever seen. He's like, it's like a military dude, bro. Like he's there, he's first in the room, he's last out, he's checking his stuff. He is the consummate professional. Hopeless instructor. So from a military standpoint, that was my attitude. Now I say hopeless instructor in regards to Frederick Harron and Ron Kaufman, and I cringe because these guys are beautiful. Yeah. And they are brilliant at what they do as speakers, but still my military mindset is, this is crap. It's like, and say, okay, so we're going to be here for 3 days. Here's the agenda. I'm going to talk about this. We're going to talk about that. And let's go through and do EDIP, imitation practice. And I want to learn the skill. I'm just sitting here listening to story after story after story after opinion. There's no systems approach to training. They're just sharing. And I'm like, I don't care about any of that. I've come to a flipping boot camp. I want to learn the components.
Yeah.
And so, pissed off because I've paid money to be there. Right. And so at lunchtime, and it's a nice hotel. I go over there to like smorgasbord feed, away from everyone, and I sit in the corner, back to the wall, facing the rest of the room, and I'm just sitting there, I'm going to have a feed. Bloody Vikas, I know who he is, but I've never met the dude. I think I've met him once at a Christmas party because I met his wife first, and she's ex-UK military.
Right.
Sally, and she's real cool. And so he's got 2 other Indian guys with him. He's got old Nishan Kuru, who's a memory holder. One of the sweetest guys you'll ever meet in the world. Amazing, man. And another Indian dude, I can't remember his name, but the type of Indian dudes that are just really, really nice guys, man. Mm-hmm. And so Vikas sees me and he walks over to sit at the table with these guys. And I'm like, I don't want anyone to sit at the table. But Vikas
you
sits
wanted
on
to
my
be by
left.
yourself, yeah.
I'll be myself. So Vikas sits on my left. John sits on my right, and the other guy sort of sitting opposite and was sitting all the rest. Hey, bro, how's it going? Yeah, man, that's real cool. I can always some money. And then, when someone's, you check, right? Because everyone's doing the thing, and Vikas just stops, and I just sort of look at him, and he reaches over, bro, and he puts his hand on my arm. So I've just gone palm up straight away, and I've got my knife, like, bro, So hand over the top, open them up, and I've got my knife, like, bro, what are you doing? What's going on? What are you doing? And bro, he looks me dead in the eye and goes, Dion, how do you? And I'm sort of brilliant pattern interrupt, right? But I'm like, what? I said, I just let them know that they're still worth it. And then he looks me in the eye and he goes, why do they want to? And I burst into tears. Like this, oh, bro. You know,
Yeah.
and I'm like, because we fucking had enough, mate. And he goes, I need to talk to you after this. I'm like, right. And I sit there in
Wow.
silence, dry my eyes, and I eat.
Yeah.
And that rocked me, bro, because we're lockdown dudes. I don't know this dude. I'm crying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, man, that's for our background, you know.
Mm-mm.
And cause he
Yeah.
reached inside and he tickled what he could see. And this the day had finished. I went to sit with Vikas, and Vikas gave me this speech. He says, Dion, I have one gift, and I see inside of people, and I see who they could be, how they could get there. And it's a gift that I have, and it's not to charge any money, but I want to share something with you. Would you please acknowledge that it came from me? I said, man, absolutely, bro. What is it? He goes, right.
Wow.
I've been asking around about you, and when I point you out to people, they all use the same word when they. Man, that is one confident guy. Because this is Asia, they're walking around
Mm.
with the amount of energy that I had, in the state that I was in at the time, bro. And so
Mm.
but what I see, Dion, is you're this warrior with this shield that's here like this, and you're walking around people away,
Mm.
and you're this dude. He goes, but then I watched you with some of the other people that I've helped, and it's like you remove the shield, you grab this person, you pull them in closer, you protect them. And here is where you do what you do. You don't let people see behind this. And he goes, I want you to get rid of that and show people this.
Wow.
I was like, no, but carry on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Straight away, it's still there, right? That
Yeah, yeah,
barrier's
yeah.
still there. That shield
Oh,
is still
that's interesting. Cool. That's okay.
there.
Yeah, I'll drop this down. I'll still got body armor on, right?
Yeah.
I'll just go here. I'll put this up,
Yeah.
Um, lose the black. Like I'm just black on black and black. you know. So he's like, switch to blues, man. Like just light blue and stuff. And I want you to start calling yourself the confidence coach. And I want you to start speaking and writing about confidence. Where do people get their confidence from? How do you get the people's self-esteem? What's happening to all the bullying stuff and all that other sort of stuff? Out heaps of stuff, bro.
Wow.
And then that's where the speech "Make Peace with the Mirror" came from. The 4 hours of confidence. Now, I had issues with all of those: my looks, my language, my ability and my legitimacy. Making peace with the mirror was the first part, and all the stuff that we go through, bros, because you look in the mirror and it's like, I don't like that, and that. So when that was reframed to that, man, there's people all over me, bro. Oh, Dion, can you help with this? Can you help with that? Can you help with this? Because all of a sudden, I wasn't the dude that was running around and activating that fear. I was the dude that people from that fear.
Wow.
So the protection came first.
Yeah.
Which went on to, because we started looking after women and self-defense and stuff, then we got to the healing side, because I'm a mum, bro, and so I was always protecting people and raising their confidence. So I've done the successful soul, corporate speaking, mentoring, consulting and everything, right? And then something happened in the role. I identified there was a whole lot of bullying going on against my female staff, and without breaching confidentiality, one of my female staff who was pregnant miscarried due to the stress of being bullied. She was going to jump out of her HDB window and kill herself. And so you just get that feeling when you know something's not right. It was a Sunday.
Yeah.
And it rang and it rang and it rang and it rang out, rang again, rang out, I rang again, and she answered. I'm like, what are you doing? And bro, she's got the window open. She's going to jump. Enough, Dion. And she explains, I said, just sit down and just talk to me for a second. No matter what I say, make your own decision afterwards, but let me talk to you. And then so I talked her down through what I'd learned, being trained to do, letting her get it out without, and it's a constant, it's like, it's a skill, bro, to be able to talk to someone like that. I'm grateful for that police training. And then so I did everything as an ex-cop, bro. I prepared the whole file. I sent everything to global HR. Just did everything perfect. Like, everything that we were supposed to, really high standard. And what should have happened, she should have immediate support. This person should have been stood down, this, that, and the other. Instead, a phone call from Global HR. So we want you to, we want to talk to you while you're there. And as soon as we went back to our home addresses, they informed us that due to a restructure, they're actually cutting the whole team. So they didn't have to deal with it.
Yeah.
And they paid us out on the contracts and everything else, and they just cut it. British company purchased by an American Asians, and I was headhunted to come in and manage all of that. And we did amazing. We 3%. Everything's going phenomenal. But as soon as it comes something to do with people, Winfrey. So now, our own veteran community, I saw how things work. And our community out here as a cop, I saw how things work. In the corporate environment, I saw how, in regards to speaking and mentoring, consulting and sales and normal business, I saw the commercial mindset. And our commercial mindset has generally been a shooter or a team leader on the contract looking after these people that I have now become. And that's feeling, bro, when you're now the client and you're hopping in with the CP team. That's a weird feeling, eh? This is a real weird.
I bet.
Yeah, you scan everyone's kit, see what weapons they got, what state they're in. You know, I'm checking all the flipping channels on all the comms, and I want to know if something happens, I'm going to grab this fella's kit and I'm going to go. And so, so we got cut away from that. So then I went full-time speaking and mentoring and consulting, and I just stepped that up and started getting really, really good at it. But then I hit a cultural barrier in Asia where Asia's number one fear is the fear of losing face. So they don't want to challenge things that scare them. They really don't like conflict. You know, some of the sweetest people around. And one thing I love about Asians is they are so nature and the natural elements.
Yeah.
And I think that's why so many of us are drawn to martial arts, right? So we've always done martial arts all through our life because we're drawn to harmony. And so I've always liked, but after that happened, that was the dark side of Asia. It's about money. It's like, we'll just cut that away, you know, we'll just get somebody else. And then so I was doing that, and then I was living in an apartment in Malaysia and building this out, going really well. Dad started getting sick. Mum said something's wrong with Dad. And you know something's wrong with Dad. He's someone, right? He looks white. In the Philippines, and he's saying he's just got a hernia. And so I fly my sister over, she comes over, and we lie to Dad, and we say, Dad, can you come to Singapore? Need some help with Manna. She's flown over here. She's going through a bad time. Dad gets to Singapore, and we kidnap him and take him to the doctor. He's got bowel cancer. And so come back, all good, bro. Gets a little bit of chemo, shrinks it, cuts his bowel out. He's got a colostomy bag. And he's just like mag on, mag off. Hasn't slowed him down. If anything, it's given him his energy back and everything else. And then with what was happening in my family at that time, they were still in the Gold Coast because we've gone back and forth from the Gold Coast having kids. So then we all moved back to New Zealand, and I wanted to be closer to home. Then I ended up working in, just working here, doing stuff for myself. And then everything sort of blew up. And then I always wanted to build the village, and you've seen that map of what I wanted to do, you know, academy, this, that, and the other. But my favorite proverb is which says, the wicked flee where no man pursueth, but the lion, you know, the righteous are as bold as a lion. You know, and so the whole lion thing sort of came out. But it was always the Success for Soldiers Academy. That was the whole idea of, because we know the military base works. I wanted to build that online. But then when I came out here, everyone's dealing with the same stuff, bro. Everyone's dealing with fear and trauma and money and self-belief and self-identity. And then I just started, just like I did at the conversation card game. It's like, you know, PTSD was a thing. I got diagnosed with, you know, post-traumatic stress, hyperarousal, hypervigilance. Wrote the book, clinically endorsed. There's a solution. Then once trauma was taken care of, you know, then it comes to what's our identity, what's our value. So I wrote the VIP of mental health, and then everything turns to crap. How do you lead during crisis? So when something pops up, I just crown it, bro. I just use the same templates as I go along. I just alter the context. And as we started doing more and more and more of it, it's interesting, bro. Like, we're so as ex-military guys for not realizing. When this clicked for me, bro, I was just like, oh my God, Dion, this is your high ignored from the start. That duplicatable process, that systems approach to training, just SMEAC and lesson plan stuff. Why don't you do that at the start? Because we didn't know what we didn't know in regards to emotions and communication of civilians, because we were no longer a civilian because of this. And then so now I've almost come full circle again, and what I'm doing now. So what's the situation? Oh, we've got a whole, engagement, productivity, and revenue is tanking by 30%. What do we do to fix it? I'm not interested in the answer. Tell me about the components of the. What does engagement mean to you? How you measuring that? How you tracking that? What affects engagement? Productivity. How you measuring productivity? What are your tools? What are your this? What are your that? Da, da, da. And I was just basically just delving deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, reverse engineering those words. I know what the issue is here. Your leader's a bully. Your manager doesn't like people. Discovered that the set of what we have is how you make another human being feel. And
I
then so when
remember.
we go, yeah,
Oh, sorry. So I was just going to say, I remember that was one of the quotes I think I saw from yours, that our greatest power or something is our ability to how we make somebody feel or something. Is that right? That was from you,
yeah,
eh?
absolutely, bro.
Great quote.
Because we're all good at stuff,
Mm.
but man, I was bloody good Mortimer, man. I love that thing, man. Cool. But man, I still hated that course. And then so when you can get the skill through with people you love and enjoy, that's the secret. And so all I've really done, bro, is design maps. Man, everyone can follow a treasure map or a GPS, but not everyone can go map the ground for compass in a map. It's a different skill set. But a simple treasure map is where are you, where do you want to go? Now, if you've already walked the ground, it's really, really simple. So if you've ever if you run out of flipping Wodu camp and flipping headed out, then left wheel, or looked up at spot point 931 and tried to drift off the side of it. Like it's or you've pissed off your section commander, Junior Griffith, and he makes your section leopard crawl over it,
Oh, far out.
Sorry, building character with painters
Building
and
character. Yeah, there you go.
Yep. And so maps are really easy to follow if you've walked the ground, and everything that I teach, bro, is what I've done.
Yeah.
So it's not like, hey man, I got this idea, you should do this. I never say that. I just say, hey, listen, when I was in that situation, I was thinking, feeling, and doing these things, and I realized it was one of these list of stuff that was going on. So for this list of stuff, I just wrote maps and plans and speeches and books so that people could walk themselves through it. And that's where, that's the evolution. So if we talk about the trauma side, and I really don't want to talk too much about PTSD on this one, bro, because it's quite simple to get through. Yeah, it's not easy, but it's simple. So the book's free. There's a PTSD course in the academy. The whole first module that'll give you the way out, that's free. Yeah. If you are struggling with your thoughts, feelings, and behavior as a result of PTSD, dive in there and help yourself, mate. Anyone can get through it, right? It's not a terminal illness.
Yeah.
So there's trauma. Yeah.
Sorry, go.
Yep. And so there's trauma involved in every stage of growth. It's traumatic to give birth. It's traumatic to be born. There's becoming always a traumatic stage. Yeah. And that could be swapping jobs, moving countries. The trauma is always one of the first steps of growth, But we've attached this hugely negative amount of energy to trauma. Trauma is an overload of energy more than what you're used to dealing with. That's all it is. So when we go to the gym and we tear all the muscles, that's trauma.
Yep.
When someone smacks you over the head with a baseball bat, that's blunt force trauma. Nothing to do with mental health. Like trauma is just an overload of energy required to grow, right? But the meaning you attach to words is critical. If post-traumatic stress is a disorder in one thing, then you're going to go down that track. If post-traumatic stress is the mind, body, and spirit's natural response to an overload of energy, then rock on. So trauma first, and the next, most of what we've been talking about is transition, bro. Yep. And transition is a word that annoys me because there's so many people that talk about transition that haven't transitioned. I used to be in the military, now I do this. You're still in the military, bro.
Still in the military, yeah.
You haven't transitioned your mind. You've transitioned your skill set. You haven't transitioned your mind, your thoughts. You haven't transitioned your emotions or feelings. You still hate that job, bro. Come on now. Most of the boys listening to this, you're in a job to pay your mortgage. We've all been there. We can't stop doing what we're doing. We can't pay the mortgage. So I get that. But to transition, the wonderful thing about transition is that is the realm of training. There are no excuses, boys. We came from the most effective, duplicatable training system known to man. Whatever you are going through right now, you can Google and find training and bloody train. Transition is not a difficult space. Transition is the difference between either not knowing, being flippin' lazy and entitled and bitter and sit there as a victim and flippin' moan with everybody else, or it's a massive opportunity. I remember sitting in Papua New Guinea with Brian Wano, and Brian and I were school kids together in Singapore. You know, he's always looked after me, Brian. He's always been a guy that I've chased. You've got to have someone to chase, you know, someone that's growing faster than you to chase them to stay on that path, you know. And he'd disappeared and done stuff. I'd disappeared and done stuff. Guys like Nathan Klenner, Chris Kumaro, there's dudes that have just gone and through training have transitioned to lots of amazing places.
Yeah.
But we sat down at dinner in PNG out in the area we're not owners of where we were.
Yeah.
And we would talk about this, and we would talk about the boys. And this is, we need to have some tough talk stuff now here, bro, for anyone listening. If they're still listening now after flipping this long, good on you.
Yeah.
The boys don't pay your mortgage. And it's not the boy's job to flip and marry your wife or raise your kids. That's your job. The boys are not going to be there when you're standing in court. And the boys aren't the answer to all of your problems, and not all the boys have a skill set that you require. Not all the boys have a mindset that you require right now. You have to make a decision to put yourself first. And this is the hardest thing to do when you first start, because everything is team before self. The first thing that you have to do if you're in the transition space is you must absolutely kill, maim, and destroy the idea of team before self. You have to make self the most important. You are no good to your missus, and you are no good to your kids if you're in a shit state. And if you want to moan about that, it's exactly the same when you're on team. You are no good to that team if you're a sack of shit. You are no good to that team. You are the weak link if you don't flip and squeeze yourself away. And that's real talk I had to have in the mirror. Dion, you're the one that's creating these problems in your family. Your missus didn't join the army. Your kids didn't join the army. Your missus didn't make you go to Iraq. Your kids didn't make you go to Iraq. There's no justification to be yelling at them. Own your shit. There's a critical lesson I learned from James Greenshields. That's another dude you need to get on this podcast, bro. That's the first thing he says. You got to own your shit. You did
What's
this.
that name? Sorry.
James Greenshields.
James Greenshields. Yeah.
Australian commander, PTSD, the whole sort of side of things, and he reframed with his own modalities. But I used the metaphor of, as I'm going on this journey, I went by myself. So up behind me, you'll see Daryl Dipthery, who was killed. His wife, our sister, and my Sergeant Mike Toon. So they're my wise counsel, my three wise men and women in there. And I used the metaphor. I was cutting the path that we used that PTSD before I got here. That book didn't exist till I got it. We cut that path, my team and I. And cutting that path, I came metaphorically to this clearing where I found this white Aussie dude sitting there with no shoes on around a campfire, drinking out of a cup skin. And it's like, hey bro, who are you? And I got to sit there and listen to this absolutely wise man. And the first thing he said to me is, Dion, you got to own your shit. Own it. You did all that stuff. Nobody else. Boys didn't do it. You did it. Own it. I talk about being a hard man. Own your shit. Really difficult. 100%. But you got to own it.
Yeah.
Because until you own it, you can't forgive yourself from it or get rid of it. If you blame everyone else, you give that power away, bro. And man, so many of the guys that I know that I end up having to cut away for my own family survival.
Yeah.
I'll put stuff in place. If they want to come to where we are, they can get there. They got the map. It's all sitting there for when they're ready. But you got to own your man. Carry your own damn pack.
I love how you mention it, how you go through that, because I can connect and resonate with everything that you're just saying there, and the stuff that you've said before. How do you connect with people that might struggle to do that? So if I use myself as an example, my wife has regularly encouraged me, said, you need to get counseling. You should get counseling. She said, let's go get counseling together. She goes, I'll come with you. I was like, nah, I'm not going to go talk to somebody else. I've always been of the mindset to, I'll just do it myself. I can take it. But I wasn't progressing. The impact the negative impact I was having on my relationship, to my kids, the fear that they had, or can I say hello to dad today? Can I tell him that I love him today? All that stuff was had all these barriers up. How would you? And I'm glad that I've got him. So I guess for me, partly what I'm talking about here, this may be part of, um, or part of what I wanted to share with you as well. It's not that I've done it myself. It's that I started. Some friends of mine introduced me to podcasting. I listened to them, and I really enjoyed the way they made me feel. There was quite a focus on the ones that I was listening to at the time, uh, around developing yourself and around investing in yourself and spending time and ownership, similar to what you're just saying in terms of where you're at, acknowledging where you're at, etc. And I really liked all of that stuff, but I still wasn't acting on it. I wasn't
Hmm.
doing anything about it. I was just like, oh, that sounds really good. Yeah, I'd like to do that. And then when I'd stop listening to it, I would revert back to the way I was, or the way I thought I'm wired and programmed, and that I can't change. It's been a long journey, and so part of this right now, it's still on that journey. Part of what I've been really loving and learning more about, this is sort of somewhat healing and I guess counseling for me, to have wise people like yourself come on that have walked that path, that have walked those
Hmm.
paths, share this information. It's helping me. I've signed up to the Align Academy and going through those modules and stuff in there. It's a great experience, and we'll talk about that and promote that a lot more here before we finish this up. But how would you connect and advise or guide people that may be pig-headed like me, that are stubborn like me, that have gone, I love the straight talk that we've got here, and I think that will connect with stubborn people like me, our audience
Yep.
and our listeners. But maybe those people that should hear this, maybe they won't hear it, and hopefully their friends or their loved ones will send it to them. What advice do you think maybe you would give to share and say, hey, this is what you need to do, aside from the straight talk here? How else, what other ways, because we all have different ways of absorbing that information, different things that will resonate with us, to prompt the person to take action? Because I'm loving what I'm hearing from you. I'm feeling like I'm growing more each time as I listen to you and other guests that I'm fortunate to connect with. But there's a lot of people that I know are just stuck in a rut like me, and they have that, probably that ghost piece with regards to those,
Yep.
what, the subconscious bodyguards and that sort of stuff. And I've experienced all of those, being reminded of this, and so don't do that, and being just safe in the middle. I'd really love to hear your thoughts on how you help people, or how, what you would advise them with the experience that you have, to take action and start doing something about it, rather than wasting
Yep.
however many years I've wasted.
Yeah, absolutely, bro. So anyone listen to this, man, just
Mm.
Joe's gonna do is just take a deep breath, bro. So what stops a lot of people is just really not knowing either, not what they don't know what to do.
Mm.
Or it's not clearly outlined each stage of the journey. So there's only four types of mindsets that you're dealing with, and the answer to your question has to be phrased four different ways. So everyone listening to this right now, the first thing that I would invite you to do is identify which mindset you are first. So that way, when like if I say you got to own your shit to one of these types, he's going to tell me to get F, punch me in the throat, and he's gonna run away. Right? If I say man the F up to one type, they're like, thanks, bro, I needed to hear that today. you know. So
Yeah.
there's four types of people. So in my experience, everyone listening now, I want you to. We'll do this a couple of times so you can find out which number you are. So, firstly, are you the type of person that generates energy and gets angry really quickly when we start talking about this stuff, or something doesn't go your way? Do you manifest and you come forward? Do you
Mm.
come forward? You start hunting people down. You're right. If there's an argument, you're going forward. You're going to win it, right? So you're coming out like a flipping werewolf. So are you that sort of person? So all the
Mm.
werewolves, man, your family's walking around on eggshells. You are sitting there with this little ticking time bomb in your stomach, and you are praying for justification to unleash. And what we really want is to be able to unleash without getting in trouble. And man, I was really, really drawn to kickboxing and MMA and all that sort of stuff, because I could
Mm.
unleash in safety. I could
Yeah.
get in there and just rip into it. And so, are you that person? Are you a werewolf? Second one, you just want everyone to leave you alone. So I'm going to use some real talk language here. Apologies for the language. So if kids are listening, Joe might have to beep this bit out. So if you're a werewolf, you're like, fuck you, I'm going to kill you. Right? That's the end state of that. Man, you can get fucked, mate. Let's go. The next person is one that's generating that energy, so that leave them alone. It's like, fuck off and leave me alone. And so that's like the, throw a magazine on fully automatic down range and then bug out. So it's creating space so you don't want people to come near you. That's trust, right? So just fuck off and leave me alone. So that's the paranoid assassin, right? So still dangerous and will react with energy and violence, but it's in order to get away from the situation. Yeah. And it's not a runaway or a retreat. It's just a fuck off, man. I'm not interested in dealing with this shit right now. Just fucking leave me alone. The next one is the ghost. Ghost is where you just are constantly getting reminded at high energy, nightmares, flashbacks, anxiety. All this shit happened in the past, could happen in the future, so stay still. And so you're just getting warnings all the time, right? And then the last one is the vampire. The vampire, where it's like a vampire on your neck and sucking out all of your emotions so you become numb. The best way to protect yourself from getting hurt is to remove your ability to feel. And the vampire's language is shrug, I don't care. I don't care. Oh, you need to tone yourself down. Blah, blah, blah. I don't care. And I don't care is literally removing the ability to care. So the ghost is about fear, and the vampire is about pain. And when we start talking about these two things, especially with the guys, it's embarrassment, it's guilt, and it's shame. Oh, yeah, fucking special forces, top of the world, dude. Hey, you're a fucking asshole. Yeah, if all those dudes listen to your podcast at home, they think you're a fucking asshole too. Then it gets worse than that. You look in the mirror and like, man, I'm fucking full of shit. I am trying to do this stuff to help people, and I'm still the same dude. I'm a fucking liar. Yeah. Then all of a sudden, you start attacking yourself, and your subconscious bodyguards start destroying you to protect everyone else. What are you doing, bro? Team before. So your team destroy this team before self in order to function again. You have to be selfish and square yourself away. Now you can do that you can own your shit and then get in there with other dudes around this. For the assassin, you've got to give them information in a neutral space. Hey bro, check this. Hey bro, have a look at this. And agree to their timeline. Listen to what they're saying. They're just trying to express that energy so you listen. You're not listening. You need to acknowledge it. Don't try and shut it down. Like if we're on a flipping, and it's crack up when you said you were tabbing, because I know that's UK talk for flipping humping your pack, right? So if you're out there humping your pack and your ankle sore, your ankle is screaming out to you, I'm sore, you need to stop walking. You're like, shut the fuck up, we've got 20 more Ks to go. Well, you're on selection, bro, you got another 100 Ks to go, shut up. Right? And so that pain that's trying to in ourselves here is natural, right? We just shut it down. That's what's happening with the ghost. I'm trying to tell you something. You're not listening. So I'm going to get louder and louder and louder and louder until you start listening to me. Don't try and suppress it. Look, what are you scared of? Scared of something. It's about fear. I'm fucking scared of anything. Or now you're scared of two things. What you're scared of and scared of telling me what it is. Be honest. What are you scared of? I'm scared that fucking all that shit we did doesn't matter. I'm scared that all the stuff that kept me at the top of the mountain, I'm this dude over here, means absolutely jack shit here in the world. I'm fucking scared my son's going to turn out like me. You know what? And then the vampire is just, man, just trying to make you numb and just be dead to those feelings. And that's the equivalent of putting flipping body armor around your heart, bro. The ghost, you've really got to listen. What are you scared of? Have the conversation. Be grateful for the ghost. Hey, man, thanks for identifying this. Yeah, let's sort this stuff out. And then for the vampire, you've got to be around joy and love. You've got to get some sunshine into that heart. And for every single one of those, because I can already hear people going, fucking you say, the first thing you need is every single one of those needs a battle buddy. Now, the moment you ask someone to go and see counseling, someone to go and speak to a stranger in a language that you know nothing about. But there's always one person that you can ring as a battle buddy. We've all got one. If you don't, get in touch with Joe, get in touch with me. And then for all of those, if you don't know what to say and you don't know what to do, say these things. I love you. I'm going to stick with you no matter what. Joe, I've got to help you right now, but I'm going to give you my word that I'm going to stick with you and we can figure this shit out. We'll figure this shit out together. Let's look at this, let's do this, or the rest of it. And then I actually know a counselor, he's my counselor, that why don't I jack up a call with the three of us? I'll speak, you don't have to speak. You give me some questions you want me to ask him, and I'll ask him, and he can, by the three of us, you fill this dude out until you're comfy. I'll stay with you until you're happy to talk to him yourself. And then when you do that for those four things, they'll revert, bro, because that's not your true form. This is just protecting yourself. So if you are manifesting as a werewolf with anger and rage, you're actually a protector. You're actually just trying to protect yourself and you can't, or you didn't. And that's where the guilt comes from. Or you were supposed to protect your mate. When I flipped out to become a werewolf, it's because Dip got killed. I wasn't even on his team. Wasn't even in the same town. I was back here in New Zealand, but I was not there to protect my bro. Yeah. So as a protector, I flipped become a werewolf and threw myself into any situation or created those situations where I can get in there and protect somebody else. And then the assassins, they're watchers. You're the guys that are supposed to see stuff happening before it gets to you, and you didn't. You missed something, or someone that was responsible for keeping you safe didn't. So now you've got to keep yourself safe the whole time. This happens a lot with my rape victims, sexual assault victims, or the dudes on the team that were the scouts or early warning and got smoked. So you're actually a watcher. We rely on you. You're the eyes and ears. You can recognize stuff that we can't see. You're like the owl, bro. We relying on you to see in the dark, see all the stuff, right? Information, bro. They're like that 4th century. Halt. Who goes there? Blah, blah. I want to be recognized. Halt. First half the COVID, second half. Cool. Move forward. How many in your party? 8. There's number 9. Oh, fuck it. 9. It's 8 now. So that's that 4th century, that watcher, right? And then the ghost and the vampire are actually two pieces of the same type of person. That's the healer, bro. So if you're suffering from nightmares and flashbacks, anxiety, or that deadening down as a vampire, you're actually a healer. You're actually a very, very emotionally powerful person. The most powerful part of you have is actually love. That you're trying to shut that all down because shit, that hurts when someone stabs you in the heart, right?
Wow. Yeah.
And so all the stuff that's a negative manifestation is actually all coming from a positive, loving, absolutely natural place. Which is what the good news about PTSD was. If you're manifesting this much energy, man, your survival mechanism is really strong.
Man. And with those, Dion, those 4 types of people, the werewolf, the paranoid assassin, the ghost, and the vampire, is it normal that every individual will ultimately have one of those that's stronger than the rest? Or is it a case of, because as you were talking, I'm just feeling, I was like, man, yeah, I've been a werewolf at times.
All of those.
Yeah, I've been all of those things.
Because they're a subconscious section, bro. So when it's time to werewolf leave, when you got to watch out. I mean, so that's our track.
Right. Yep.
And it's all a neuroplasticity if you want to go into the whole biological side of things. We've done this all for our military training. We can stretch and adapt and evolve and do whatever. But primarily, it's just like when you've got any sort of combat mechanism going on, we've all got a chocolate punch. We've always got our favorite grouping, our favorite weapon, our favorite something that we naturally lean towards.
Yeah.
And so I naturally lean towards being a protector because my training and everything else matches me being a protector.
Yeah.
Now I've got a highly trained werewolf. It's like, man, I don't have enough energy right now as the discipline gunner. Go for it, bro. Boys, we're in the gym now. Are we either going to get choked out or we're going to win? Let's go, and then you can let it off. And then you have to be a certain type, because it's like a military side. So, it's the IAs are exactly as the rifle section. So the conscious mind's the section commander. The watcher is the scout, and the healer is the medic. Exactly the same job in every contact. Contact front. Flipping lead scout's going to lay down one magazine on automatic, and while he's reloading, cover scout's going to come up, lay heat down. We're going to give a target indication so that the gunner knows what flipping flank to go on, and is going to use discipline rate of fire, 3 to 5 round burst, keep a nice cone of fire and beaten zone, suppress the enemy, give the section commander time to get up to the middle and figure out if we're going to go left or right flanking, up the guts, retreat, hold, fire support, whatever. And the medic's going to be sitting there ready and hoping they never hear the call to go in and patch someone up. So everyone knows what the jobs in the section are to do. So subconsciously, you same drills. When my to give me a fright, that's contact rear. When I'm trying to concentrate, trying to be, and your wife's like, "Babe, shut the fuck up," because I'm trying to be flipping tactical here. I'm concentrating on something. Sitting there on a flipping OP, and the missus coming crashing up through the bush with a, "Do you want some dinner, Joe?" It's like, my God, operation here.
Be the same if they came in. Yeah, I was going to say, be the same if they came in the door now. Get out.
Get out. But what do we do before? I'm going to get you to talk through the steps. I'm probably sick of my voice now. Okay, so here it is.
Heck no.
So warning order. You got we'll take a 4-man set and we'll just do we're going to set up an OP on a feature, and the targets are a group of flipping hikers that may be growing drugs. OP has to be within 500 meters. Give me an overview of just a real simple overview on SMEAC for that, man, for people listening to this.
Oh, far out. So from my side with regards to the SMEAC, obviously, because it used to be G SMEAC, remember back in the day with
ground first,
and then rid of that. So the process, I guess, in my head with regards to that and an overview, and you're talking about from a planning perspective before we get into
just
OP.
You can possibly keep the components for everyone listening. Yeah. I've just given that to Joe. Listen to this this mindset.
Sweet. So my mindset and approach to that is trying to make it as brief as I can. There's a whole bunch of elements to this, but the team that I've got myself, the skill sets that they have and the capability, the location in terms of where we're going to be going, the equipment that we need, the time frame that we've got and that we need to be by the time we need to either be on site or how long we need to be in location for, what it is that we're looking for, what our ROEs are going to be, what the admin and log and actions on and all that sort of stuff, and then the comms, the command and sig, the communications back in terms of this is the information or the intelligence that we're gathering, this is what we're sending back, and we're going to be waiting for further instructions whether or not we're going to be conducting an actual DA on the potential threats or whoever they are, or we're just going to continue to observe and gather information and keep feeding that back because we're waiting for whoever the other players to come. So that's a brief snapshot, bro.
Cool. So how did hikers become a threat?
Because we were told. Because you told me. So and I guess just without even thinking till you asked that question, that mindset is still here. Like you gave me the task and I straight away viewed them because you're giving me a warning order. So for me, warning order, everything for me is heightening straight away, like instantly. Warning order. Okay, you got some hikers, and it's like, oh, who are these bad people? who are these bad hikers?
What's rules of engagement? Joe, it's an OP on hikers possibly moving drugs, because we're not going to be shooting anyone, But you've done it so long. It's a skill, bro.
Yeah,
it's a skill. How many times have you given flipping orders, bro?
Yeah.
How good was your first O group compared to your last O group? Can you compare the two?
Yeah, absolutely. I can compare. First one was terrible.
This is a skill. This is not a psychological thing that's going on here in regards to I'm already heightening it. It's a skill. Like you've just done this heaps of times, and then you've known in the generic overview of what we've taught through experience. It's like, you know what? I'm gonna put this bit of kit in here. That's got nothing to do with it. We duct tape our shoelaces up. We're in a CP team now because old flipping KK's team got flipping blown up upside down as he's extracting. His shoelaces got caught on the handbrake. So now we all tape up our shoelaces. That's something that you learn on the job. Here's the next question. Kids to go grocery shopping. What's your thought process?
My thought process there is I want the most capable children to come because the little rat bags are going to run around. The little rat bags are going to run around, man, and they're going to do my head in because they're going to want to touch this. They're going to want to get that. They're going to, no. So you stay home. I'll take you and you because you two will listen and I can task you and I can trust you to go and get stuff when we're not in the same aisle. Like, go grab the toilet paper. Yep, go grab the bread. Yeah, you go over there, grab that. Mum and dad are going to grab the veggies, fruit, blah, blah, blah. And I can trust that they're going to come back and we will meet here or we'll meet at the checkout. So yeah, and then getting, I guess that may be, I don't know if that's similar for everybody, but that's just sort of how what I've learned over the time. It's like, man, I'm leaving the youngest ones at home. I want to take the older ones because they can do stuff, and I can trust them. And yeah, and then we can achieve our mission of getting the grocery shopping. You know what? To be fair though, to my wife, sometimes I'm the person that sneaks other stuff into the
Yep.
into the shopping trolley. So
Bro,
it's
you're
not
trained
only
to
just
bend
the
the
children.
rules or get around them, bro. That's your training. You got
That's
to choose when to, bro. Like, that's always going to
yeah.
be there, bro, you know?
And I'll try and hide the chocolate underneath the fruit or
Yep.
something. Yeah.
So we go through that traumatic side of any sort of growth, and now we're in transition. Now, this is like a transitional conversation with a little bit of humor, you know? And it's like, you're
Mm.
still going to run this. You learn to sort of tone it down, turn it down. Oh my God, if someone cuts you off or tries to flip and take your park, bro, look
Yeah.
out, contact front.
Yeah.
You know, or
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
before you get to the supermarket, oh, what's that, mum? Oh, no, sorry, babe, we don't have time to go grocery shopping. Can we just fly by, mum? We're gonna go. You're gonna change the plan now, like we're pulling up to the super.
Mm.
You know, and
Yeah.
then all of a sudden you run this drill in your head, and the ability to switch between this and that transitioning through your weapon systems, right? We get really
Mm.
really good at in the environment that we are trained in, and then adapting back to the environment. It's really interesting. We took the G out of G SMEC because you need to put the G back in to understand the environment you're walking into in Civvy
Yeah.
Street. And the ground now is the difference between an AO and your community.
Mm.
Healthy to have those skills. You're still going to see stuff, right? I was talking
Yeah.
to Glenn Tiffado the other day, old
Oh,
GT,
awesome.
and I
Yeah.
was telling him I was going to be on the away about some stuff, and I've had a lot of amazing experiences from Glenn. Glenn is always half a step ahead of me. It drives me insane, bro. Like, he's just always just that half a beat faster than me at everything, you know. And and I hate losing, and but he just is, bro. He's just that dude, right?
He's
And there's
awesome.
just an
Yeah.
absolute
Yeah.
cheekiness to it, you know, like vehicle down drills and all the rest of it, and or tire change drills. He puts three wheel nuts on it and sits there, looks at it and revs, like, ooh, you know. He's just that dude. But when we talked a lot about the circuit, and I was, transitioning back here in New Zealand and getting back on leave from a deployment, he popped over just for a catch up, and I'll never forget this, bro. We had a catch up. He said, "Oh, bro, we'll talk. We'll get out, go for a round." And so I just live in a little cul-de-sac here in Palmy, and as we're walking along, I'm facing this way, Glenn's facing this way, and a half a second before I register, Glenn just sort of looks up to his left, and then I sort of look up to my left. I'm half a beat behind him again because there's people sitting up on the balcony just having a cup of tea,
Mm.
because his radars used to be pumping out so far. He
Yeah.
picked it up before I did. My radar is slowly coming back in closer and closer.
Yeah.
And I spoke to him the other day, and we talked about a lot of things. And Glenn's going across into different roles now, and he's evolving. And so
Mm.
transition is a space of training, and our training is so good that it's a mindset of subconscious, which is why we need the subconscious bodyguards. Then in
Mm.
transitions where you're training, it's just like, man, excuse my language again, it's like the platoon sergeant walks out and goes, "Hortai, your fucking section's out of control." Right? Oh, they're not listening to me. Right, you're going on a course. I'm going to send you on a course. You three Muppets are going to go with such and... That's what we're doing in our mind, bro, because you as a section commander have lost control of your scout, your gunner, and your medic, man. They're not listening. And so you got to give them to someone else, and someone else is going to sort them out, right? Horse, fat, lazy. Go report to the PTIs. You guys are doing flipping extra PT. That's what we're doing when that transition training mind is just getting control back again, bro. And it is a lot of fun. We put this negative raw on everything, right? Because that's our energy.
Yeah.
But that's what we're doing. And it does become a little bit of a giggle, and it's good fun because, when I designed the protector, that was dip, you know. And he's like the perfect protector. Like, if I'm scared of something, I'm standing behind him. If we're gonna rumble, I'm gonna have flipping dip and PO with me,
Yeah.
And so that's the mindset. This is cool, man. Anyone listening to this, that's really a rock bottom stuff, man. There's really good stuff to come. And there's a heap of us out there. Not only have we got through, we had a lot of fun doing it. There's some tough stuff, bro. But here's one, bro.
Mm.
How many people listening and you yourself have just been in just the shittiest situation in your military career? It's either freezing cold, wet, muddy, it stops raining, then it hails, and then the sun comes. It's just so shit that you just look at each other, and there's nothing worse that can happen, and then your magazine falls out of your rifle or some shit. Just like, it's just the shittiest situation you've ever been in, and you do exactly what we're doing. You just look at each other and you just piss yourself laughing.
Yeah.
You're just like, or someone in the section just comes up with something so stupid you just can't stop laughing, right?
Mate, that's just on that. That's a great point because I can definitely resonate to all that. I'm sure, I guess our audience will be laughing at this too. But there's a guy there, just as you mentioned when you said that last part, and there's always somebody that comes out with something. Is this guy, Dusty Miller, over in the Australian regiment. I'm pretty sure he's still serving now. Dusty's his nickname that he has. But we'll be in those situations, bro, and then he'll sit back. You'll be in this group. You're looking miserable. And he lightens the mood by coming out, and I'll never forget, he always says, "You can't buy what we've got." We just burst out laughing, and it just changes instantly the whole mood. There's always that one person like that just seems to have that knack and ability. I always remember that now whenever I'm in other crap situations. I think, man, you can't buy what we've got.
Yeah. And this is the thing with the whole trauma and the whole PTSD side. It's like that too, bro. PTSD is a smorgasbord. Not everyone gets the same plate, but we've all got similar shit on it, right? That's from Lisa Westgate. I mean, that's what it is. And it's like, when you get to that point, you can actually have a giggle about a whole lot of stuff. And like, have you done this yet? Like, and I remember one of the boys from Second First, he was in a real bad way in Aussie, bro. And he's in the book, and he'd already told his family he's going to kill himself. He's just like, you know what? Because people think that you have to be out of control and all the rest of it. A lot of the guys I deal with, they've actually made a strategic and tactical decision where they've convinced themselves being dead is better than being alive. And they've justified it, right? And fully cognizant, sober. And then so I get a call from a mate through like 3 or 4 different connections, and this dude happens to live down the road from me in Helensville. And so his mum and someone else have flown over just to spend time with him because he's just already told me he's going to go kill himself. And so I said, just get permission for me to come down and talk to him. He goes, oh yeah, bring him over. It's not going to do any different. So I've gone in there. I've got an All Blacks t-shirt on, and my hair as it is. And I walk in there. And this guy's from Second First, bro, right? So you know what's coming next. I'm from 1st Battalion. He's from 2nd First. So anyone listening to this, the best battalion's in the North Island. That's my battalion. It's called 1st Battalion. And then the other guys that can't make it in 1st Battalion, 2nd First Battalion, and they're in Burnham, right? And because they're south of the border, we call them Mexicans, right? So, in jest, brothers, I do love you, but that's the co-fopper. That's just real talk, just facts. Anyway, so I go to speak to this guy. I walk in there, and he's had a few drinks. He's sitting outside smoking, and I walk in, I sit down, and I went, all right, bro, brief me. What's going on? And he proceeds to tell me all the reasons why everything's going on, which I just ignore. And then when he's finished, I was like, oh my God, bro. He's like, what? I said, bro, I knew you were a Mexican and that your brief would be shit, but seriously, brother, that is the worst brief I have ever heard. And he just looked at me and he looks at my hair and he goes, fucking 1st Battalion pretty boy. If I didn't want to kill myself before, I certainly do now. And we just lost it, bro. We just cracked up laughing. Family sitting in the lounge like, what's going on?
What's going on? Yeah.
I was like, come on, bro. Have you started crying for... Bro, he just freaked out. He's just like, how could you know that? So, cuz I've been there. Can I share a little bit about my story, bro? And I told him, and he's just like, why doesn't anyone tell us it's like that? I said, bro, listen, this is what's going on. You're in an AO. You've just woken up in this AO, and you don't have 3 sections, so you don't know where you are. You're naked and unarmed, and shit's running around and buzzing you, and you don't know what the fuck's going on. So you got nothing to anchor to. And so when I started talking through this stuff, it's like, oh, thank God. And we just, what we did was we created an ERV, and for him, the language that made sense to give him the steps was an NDS, was a navigational data sheet.
Yeah.
So where are you, where do you want to go? And the first thing was safety. The first critical thing was getting off the piss, and then. And so he wrote the testimony in the book because that was his language.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
He thought he was the weak link, naked, can't defend himself or his family, and the rest was fucking no point being here then, right? And so when we talked it all around, he's a huge advocate. He put himself on a PTSD course, and after the psych finishes talking, he interprets it with my book.
Right. That's
because
awesome, man.
It just makes sense. And so that's the transition side, but it requires you making a decision, and this is another hard one. Because we pride ourselves in, one of my favorite quotes is still from Abraham Lincoln. If you give me 6 hours to cut down a tree, I will spend the first 4 hours sharpening the axe. victory loves preparation, brother. We pride ourselves on being squared away and prepared, right?
Yep.
2 is 1, 1 is none, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Have you ever done
100%.
flipping MOE with a flipping door explosive and you only got one and it doesn't go off? You know exactly what I'm talking about, Joe?
100%. And you don't want to be hearing that sledgehammer.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Yeah. And so we pride ourselves on being prepared. So when we get to this stage of the conversation, everyone wants to know every bloody step along the way to make sure it's going to work for them and they can actually do it and everything else before they make a decision. A decision doesn't require a plan. A decision just requires you making a decision.
Yep.
Like everyone can make a decision right now. I'm just not going to live this way anymore. I'm going to live a better way. What's that? Don't know yet. But I'm going to make a decision. You can make a decision right now, and it's going to be hard. And it can go out and it come back. But if you keep making that same decision over and over again, just like you did on your selection, bro. Can I do another day? Nah. You know, could I do another hour? Nah. Could I put one foot in front of the other? I could probably do that. What's the next thing I can do? And so that's the key with a decision. You know, I stole that from your podcast, but your podcast is cool too. And so it's that simple. Not easy, because ease relates to effort, but simple in concept. It's very simple. So if anyone's struggling with post-traumatic stress, thoughts, feelings, and behavior, grab my book, go on the Line Academy. If you don't want my stuff, there's a mental health solution summit in there. There's 20 other people. You can choose their stuff. Doesn't matter. But make a decision. And then transition to evolution is a different thought process.
Right.
Evolution is all about choice, brother. Like transition is really a lot of necessity. You have to transition to get a new job, to pay the mortgage, to survive. You know, there's a lot of training that goes on in that transitional space. But you got to have something to transition to. So there's a whole bunch of dudes with transition services that got nothing to transition. So what am I transitioning to? You can do CV stuff and get jobs, but you got to have something to transition to. And that transition might be from, I don't want to be angry anymore, you know, and I want to be able to control my anger, or I don't want to yell at the kids anymore. You know, just what are you transitioning to? And then there's training. There's training for everything. And we're masters of training. Evolution, oh, bro. Man, if I can create some hope for people coming out the other side, this is the good stuff.
Awesome.
Evolution is where you get to choose everything. Who do you want to be? Where do you want to go? How much money do you want to make? How do you want to look? How much do you want to live? Evolution is about choosing. What do you want to be? Who do you want to be? All that stuff. The first thing I wanted to be was happy. I just want to be happy, bro. I want to wake up with something to do every day that I enjoy. I want to have a passionate purpose. Yeah. And so after the whole trauma side, we got into the VIP of mental health. What makes you feel like a VIP, Joe Hortai? What makes you feel the most like the person on the planet? Give me something.
Ooh, what makes me feel like the most valuable person on the planet is the love and support I get from my family. So everything that I want to do, I want to make them proud. I want them to be, I want them to be proud of their dad. I want my wife to be pleased that she's married to me and that she feels loved and supported. That they all feel loved and supported. That's the biggest part. And I want to. What gets me out of bed each day is so I'm in that space of I've got a day job which I do enjoy. Do I love it as much as doing the podcast, which I don't get? Which there's no financial thing attached to this. No, I don't. I love, I love this. I love being able to connect with my friends again, people like yourself that I didn't have the privilege to get to know in battalion, but getting to know now, learning from those experiences. That's what makes me happy.
All right. So in that VIP triangle, value, identity, and purpose, it's 4 key environments, bro. In the mirror, at home, in the workplace or at school if you're younger, and in the world. So you took me through the family side.
Yep.
Right? Sweet as. Workplace stuff there, take it or leave it. The world stuff is this podcasting. And you dodged the mirror.
Yeah. Oh, so the mirror.
So, Hortai is looking in the mirror right now, talking to Joe Hortai.
Yeah.
How is Joe making Joe feel like he's the most valuable? What does Joe need?
That's a good question. I can say that I feel a million times better than where I've been, like from the first podcast, just in terms of how it was really withdrawn, pulling myself down, a lot of negative thoughts. I'd never.
But what do you want, bro?
I want to be able to do this.
Yeah.
I want to do this and serve others and create a better future. Yeah.
And so in the VIP triangle, value is value, identity, purpose.
Yeah.
Your strongest link to value is purpose. You see that? So doing these podcasts is something to do. Think.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so if we go into the identity side, there's not as strong an identity. If I said your identity as a dad, value high, purpose dad, real high. Your person, Joe to Joe, that's the side of the triangle you need to strengthen.
Right.
Down here,
Great.
purpose to value is super strong because this is smoking your tires, bro. Your identity of that is all starting to stack.
Yeah.
So once we get past the trauma side of the good news about PTSD, the making peace with the mirror, we skip right over the other side. The subconscious bodyguards is our left and right of arc. But we're going to end up right back here, bro, in that VIP triangle. What makes you feel like a VIP? And for some of the boys, they haven't felt like a VIP since they left the uniform. Back in the uniform, they knew exactly their value for their identity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it was really who we were in the mirror. Like, man, when I looked in the mirror when I was a battalion, man, I was just, man, I like what I saw. Strong, fit, confident, competent member of the team. Loved the push, loved getting on the gas, loved scoring six. Like, you know, when I looked in the mirror, I loved who I was. Battalion. I love who I am now. But when I was looking in the mirror for that other stuff going on, and when I looked in the mirror after I got back from, man, there's heaps of stuff that I didn't like. And I like what I see in the mirror now.
Awesome.
And so for me, it was always about my identity. And the identity gets screwed with your role and a label. Like I'm going to be doing a workshop tomorrow for Oranga Tamariki for their team that deals with victims. And so I'll run a workshop under the Protecting Women stuff on trauma and trauma transition evolution, but just the side on how to communicate to a victim.
Okay, yeah.
And the first rule is you're not allowed to use the word victim. How long is that going to last in a room full of 18 flipping people whose all their value comes from their identity being on the victim team?
Yeah.
For the purpose of helping victims. You're not allowed to use that word anymore. It'd be like, it's going to discombobulate a few people. Another word we learn in the military for those of you that think we're discombobulation.
How is that? How would that? So do they already know that that's one of the rules? We can't use that. You tell them that when you're there. Right. What's been the reactions like in the other environments where because you would have done this before? How is that? Deer in headlights?
Pretty much goes like that. Huh?
Yeah.
It's like, what? And then so people firstly are confused if did I just hear that? And they go right to why. And then because everyone's quite smart these days, then they start running off what are all these reasons that it could be.
Yeah. And
then we run them through the VIP triangle. Right. It's not identity. It's a label. It's, you know, and so what I say is, this is how we help people. Fear or pain placed on them by someone else without their consent. Like if you walk into a hospital for broken arm, you're a fully functional person that's got a broken arm. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you're a guy with a broken arm.
Broken arm guy, yeah.
So you're not a victim. You're a fully functional person that's had fear or pain without their consent.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to help the total person by addressing what's hurting the most at the moment.
Awesome. And
dress like, we'll just give them press ups every time they say victim.
Yeah,
at the end of the course.
Yeah, I was just going to say, what's going to be the punishment? Like a swear jar every time I hear the term victim, then it's...
I might just grab free coffees or something, bro, and I might end up with like 30 free coffees or something. Solution is where you ask this question. So to sort of put things back in harmony for people listening right now, now we've talked about, you know, involved in something else, and PTSD is simple to get through. Transition is really about training, and in there you have to do what you do to survive. You've got to take those jobs you don't like, to pay the mortgage and everything else until you can evolve and choose what you want next. And then in that VIP triangle, you can choose another identity or you can choose another purpose. Now, you chose another purpose. So you're following this. You're choosing a purpose that raises your value. And then when you start combining these all together, these podcasts, when you get off this, you walk out of that room and you see your wife or your kids, you're a different dude than when you saw them before you walked in the room.
Yeah.
Because you've had your value increase, because now you're running podcasts. And in the service of others, fantastic, because you're still serving. And people forget we're in the services. You know, we're actually here to serve. But now you're allowed to serve yourself. You're allowed to say, "No, I love doing podcasts. It makes me feel good." And I'm grabbing stuff like heal me as I'm. But then you get use an identity. And so what I did, look for what I needed in order to fulfill the vision that I had. And the vision that I've had is always just that military base or that village where everyone's welcome. Come in any state you want. Tourniquet on, patched up. And once you're patched up, let's do some training. You know, what do you want to... And then we're all fully functional within there. So who are the people that are able to influence that? Now, I don't have any qualifications. I don't have all this other sort of stuff if I go down this way. I mean, regional operations manager for Asia Pacific, probably outside of being on the circuit, highest paid, highest status, highest responsibility, away from home. I haven't seen my family. So that lane is never going to get me to that vision. I'm doing all the stuff like you after hours, bro. Like, sleep, what's that? You know, just if you run out of time, you just take it from your sleep, right?
Yeah.
It's just what you do, or you just don't sleep. Because we can work sleep deprived. You know, we've had training for that for a long time. It's not good for you, but we can do it if we have to. And then, so where I was looking at, where is influence? And so I got really, really interested in influencers. Who influences the most? You know, so on social media has huge amount of influence. I looked at the whole government model all the way up to prime ministers, and I know a few prime ministers, and that's not influence. That model doesn't give you influence. The guys that are influencing out there, that are creating the income that they want to create, that are creating the communities that they want to create, that are doing whatever the heck they bloody want. It's the Tony Robinses. It's the Brendan Burchards. It's the Simon Sineks. It's the John C. Maxwell's. It's the Pastor T.D. Jakes. It's all these guys, you know. And man, I was blessed. That video that I put on my DionJensen.com. There's a Canadian organization like, you know, we were looking for influencers around the world, and we looked in the South Pacific, and we found this guy Dion Jensen. And they're like, we know Tony Robbins, we know Bob Proctor, and all that sort of stuff. But this guy, I'm like, holy shit, I listen to those guys. You know,
wow, that's awesome, eh?
Being an influencer, you get to take what you believe and share that message. And it's only, this is really important, Joe, because you're doing it. It is only those that resonate with you that will come. You can't influence people that don't resonate with you. That's manipulation. That's sale. That's all this stuff. Now, you and I can make them do that. We just send them a picture of them sleeping in their bed and say, do this. You know? Or the next time I take a shot of you, I won't be with a DSLR, you know? So, we can use our fear and our skill set and, and all that sort of stuff to manipulate an outcome. But you don't make friends like that, you know? Motive, right? Remember, motive and competency. We were competent in lots of stuff, bro. Motive is questionable, right? Yes, but handy skills to have in case, you know, carload of flipping patched up dudes arrives in your street, wants to have a bit of a chat. I'm full of patched up. No idea what you're talking about. And so, it's like, how are they doing it? And so, are run by systems are run by people. So what is the system that they're using? Because I know the content, I design all my content myself, but how do you take the content, how do you monetize the message, how do you get it out there? I mean, I know guys that make $10 million a month in my social network, and they're not interested in money at all, bro. They like building stuff, and just like money just comes because it's the stuff that they're playing with. Because how systems and stuff work, and I'm really curious about systems. And so the first guy I ever studied on that was a guy called Bob Proctor. He's old school school stuff, you know, Bob Proctor. But a guy that people, I'll be shocked if anyone's heard of this guy. He's been my secret weapon for a long time, because you're not allowed to work with this guy until you've made $100,000 by yourself.
Wow. Before
you can even talk to this dude. And now he's obviously changed his model because of COVID and everyone's got access to him. Like, oh, damn it, everyone's going to know about him. His name's Dan Sullivan.
Dan Sullivan.
And Dan Sullivan is one of the mentors that no one's heard about because he's not in it for the status. He's in. And he is phenomenal, bro. You want to listen to some podcasts, play your mind. That dude, like when the 9/11 tower stuff happened, he was running stuff that everyone's trying to run in COVID now. You know, like all that sort of stuff. He's an amazing guy. And then, you know, Brendan Burchard was probably my favorite influencer to learn from initially, because he's an educator. He would stand in front of a blank whiteboard with sticky notes and walk you through a systems approach to training.
Wow.
But his personality is like a chihuahua on cocaine in a bottle, and he's just irritated. So, No disrespect to Brendan, man. Like, I love you, dude, and one day I'll meet you, and like, you've been really helpful. But yeah, the resonant point.
Yeah, I get you.
And then I was looking at who was getting the results next. A Tony Robbins event in Singapore. Met Tony, gave him a copy of the book because he saw my pop. Veterans, never heard back from him. Kia ora, Tony. Then after talking all that time about veterans, yeah, don't take a shot at Tony Robbins, bro.
No, I won't.
Yeah. We took our shoes off and we walked across hot coals and did. And so I was learning people's systems, the models, and how they did it, and it was all the same. It was a very, very slick marketing plan that does the big net, gets everyone in there.
Right.
And then it's manipulating emotion to get them into a malleable state so they.
Wow.
That's all it is. Generate the emotion in the room. Places limited scarcity, all that sort of stuff, right?
Yeah.
That's how everything sort of worked, because everyone wants to say you sell the sizzle, not the sausage, and I hate that. You know, I flipping hate that. It's like, dude, I came here to learn how to make ice cream. Just teach me ice cream. I don't need to sit here for 2 days and watch marketing videos on why ice cream's so good. I want the bloody ice cream. How much is it? What's the process of making this bloody thing, right?
Yeah.
But you've got to hype it all up to get the most sales. Then Tony switched and started to do something very, very interesting. He doesn't sell. So he'll get out there, do the Tony thing, and then he'll leave, and his guy will come on, and he'll start selling. So I was like, yeah, I see the system, don't like it. And then another one with another guy who came before Tony Robbins called T. Harv Eker. Now, T. Harv Eker's got a program called the Quantum Leap program. It takes, and it's like once a quarter, and it's really expensive. You learn a lot of really cool stuff. But he did something even more clever, or as we say in New Zealand, more better. What he would do, his presenter would say, right, before I sell anything, over the next week, give you fair warning that I'm about to sell something. And then I'll give everyone 10 minutes that doesn't want to sit here and hear the. We're going to run a 15 to 30 minute sale, as much money as we can. And if there's value for you, you'll do it. If there's not value for you, you won't. But if you don't want to sit here for that, you can leave and you can come back here at 12:30, give you 10 minutes. And then most people would leave, and I'm sitting there with a notebook. Like, I want to track this process. Because I've got a rule, bro. I don't buy anything at a seminar. Like, if it's that good, I'll pay extra for it. You know, one-time offer, whatever. This price, I'll pay double if I can see the value in it.
Yeah.
My emotions to make me sell stuff, right?
Yeah.
And this example I'm going to give you now is really, really important for people that have come through trauma, come through transition. Now they're evolving, running their own businesses, whether that you're a personal trainer, which a lot of the boys do, whether you're trying to sell podcasts and books and all the rest of it. How do you monetize your mission without looking like a snake oil salesman? A lot of the boys will influence you here. They don't want you selling because you're going to be one of those guys. So this is really important in the evolution space.
Yeah.
You have to understand attachment to money.
Yep.
Money has the least amount of value in the military network. Who gives a shit?
100%. Yeah.
Like, the dude in a firefight doesn't matter, but
yeah. 100%, eh?
Yeah. He's got 10 houses, you got 2. You know, who are you going to take on team? The better operator?
Yeah, so true.
And so when I went into T. Harv Eker, I was going in there curious about the system. Like, I'm happy with my content, bro. Like, my content works.
Yeah.
But how do I put that in a system where it's monetized and it's doing the right thing with the right really high skill set and being competent and providing an enormous amount of value? Without manipulating people and looking like a snake oil salesman. And then so there's a guy called Robert Realpeel, interesting name, bro, but that's his name. And we're running through, this was Mission to Millions. How do you take your mission and make millions of dollars from it, and how you communicate stuff. I'm looking for training.
Yeah.
And T. Harv Eker stuff is really, really systems approach to training. However, competency high. So I'm not endorsing T. Harv Eker's programs where everyone goes and buys them.
Yeah.
I'm just saying super competent in understanding and the objectives. Straight sales, right? He doesn't care if you get the result or not, so long as you buy the program. And the value, so value. So we've got 2 out of 3 now in the triangle. We've got 2 sides: competence,
competence,
and value. Really, really high. Motive, competency super high. Motive super high. motive super high. So Brent Burchard, he almost died in a car crash, and he had these questions: Did I live? Did I love? Did I matter? So massive motive, massive heart, super competent. The value is awesome. So that was like, so like 2.5. And so I think I've told you this story, but just for the viewers.
Yeah, for our listeners. Yeah.
I like the word association. We have to call it out really quick because you don't have time to think about it, so it's natural, right? And when I go anywhere, I apologize if I come on anyone else's programs that ever read this around. I play full out, man. I'm 6'4". I paid money to be there. I'm gonna be at the front. I'll be dancing on. I'll be yelling. Man, I'm playing full out. I want the full experience. I don't care what anyone thinks about me. Like that has zero power over me now. I have no shame. Back in New Zealand, we had $100 worth of stuff in 5-cent coins. Drive my way, no shame. Right? I'll put that to bed. And so Robert Rilke was like, let's let your subconscious and your psychological attachment to money is. So I'm going to call out a sentence. You're going to yell out the answer, then write it down. So okay, then. Does everyone hear me? Yes. Does everyone hear me? Yes. So here we go. Here's the. This is hilarious. If you listen to this podcast on the train, I want you to yell out the answer and just freak everybody out. So he yells out, people are, and I yell out. In Singapore. Some people were looking at me. I was like, oh, here we go. So I write down rich people are wankers. And I'm sitting at the front, bro. Everyone can see my website and everything on my back. I was like, oh, well, I'm playing full out. Who cares?
Yeah,
and then he goes, yells out again, rich, bye. And I yell out, ripping people off. I was like, yep. I'm not going to get any more work. So now rich people are wankers. Rich people made their money by ripping people off. Because let's try something else. So he yells out, wealthy people are, and I go, awesome. I was like, what?
Where did that come from?
Yeah, so now I've got rich people are wankers. So I'm already confused now. And smart enough, something to do with rich or wealthy. Then he yells out, wealthy people made their money by, and I went, helping other people. I was like, yeah, this 0 cents. So I'm looking quite confused. So from stage, right, Robert Rilke goes, Dion, you confused. I'm like, I didn't find that in a room full of thousands of people, bro. But yes, I am confused. So what are your answers? Like, you want my answers, bro? So I tell him the answers, right? And because, the room's pretty stone cold by this stage. And he goes, let me guess, Dion, you are really good at making money. You've made enormous amounts of money in your career, and you keep giving it away or creating the next thing. I'm like, maybe. He's like, no, what you do. He goes, let me tell you right now, if you try and be rich, you are never going to make it. You don't want to be perceived to be rich. You like houses and cars and all the flash. So my psychological attachment to money for being rich was they're wankers and they rip it off. So he goes, do you know many rich people? I'm like, yeah, I do know a lot of rich people, actually. We've done a lot of rich people. And what were they like? Well, they're wankers, flipping cokeheads and wonderful stuff. They were flipping around on their misses. Their kids are all flipping druggies, or it's just a graphic that requires people like you and I to stop other people wanting to hurt them. Is they're not philanthropists, And some of the philanthropists that dudes, but the ones I was exposed to, no. So then he goes, who's your favorite wealthy person? And I said, oh, Stephen K. Scott. So Stephen K. Scott, who's a friend of mine, and I'm blessed that, bro. Like, he's my favorite Christian author, New York Times best-selling author. He's the guy behind the Total Gym with Chuck Norris and Christy Brinkley.
Oh, wow.
And so I met Chuck Norris in Utah. Carlos. Chuck Norris said, don't drop names, so don't do that. And when I was over there doing stuff with Steve and his company, and he's helped so many people. He's a lovely, lovely dude. Loaded, lovely. And all his stuff is to help people. And so my psychological attachment to money changed at that moment. Yep. I've got no issue ever, because the only way that happens for me, more and more people. Now, people say that at the start. They try and sell you. I do what I do because I love helping people. Why am I paying you money then? Why are you charging if you're doing what you love? Yeah. And then you get in this whole justification people, which is just a waste of time. pure motive. We're bloody good at what we do anywhere else in the world. Unique to the Line Academy.
Yeah.
And it enormous amount of value for people that utilize it. It will stop people killing themselves. It'll save people's houses. Like, we've proven this now. And so other people, zero, absolute nil effect. And that's really powerful for people that don't have a lot of confidence, because pre-qualification to go on basic, and you do as you're told on basic, you'll make it to core training.
Yep.
And if you go to core training and you do as you're told, the process, you'll get to battalion. And if you do as you're told and do your band courses, you'll get there.
Yeah.
It's designed to be competent. The difference with the military is, man, the motor's front. We're going to train you guys to kill people. Get it. And so in order to get that, strong mind. Can't trust you guys to strength. We'll do that for you.
Yeah. We'll reprogram his.
Yeah. But because it's programming and reprogramming, now we've got the remote, bro. We can do this ourselves.
Yeah.
If someone gives us the flipping brief, we get the warning order, we get the and we get all the kit that we need. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to get out there and conduct rehearsals, bro. We're going to get out there and flip and knock this around and try this out and run our drills and our IA drills, and we're going to swap stuff and change stuff and swap that clip for this clip and swap that weapon for change those shoes for those shoes, and you know.
Yeah.
And if there's room for baby wipes, rock and roll. If there's not, no one. I think we've all donated a sock somewhere around the world. The last sock I left, bro, was South Korea. That's actually quite a funny story as an interlude, bro. When I was the job came for risk assessment on the Winter Olympics in South Korea.
Yeah.
And I rung a Aussie Special Forces mate of mine. He's a good dude, bro. He's out now. His name's Blair Hickey. Awesome operator, bro. And he owns a mega dev group. He's another good guy to get on, bro. But I think he's the only guy in the South Pacific that has access to the US warehousing kit in Civvy Street.
Wow.
Dude. And so I call him Rayok, bro. Random act of kindness. Like, man, like he just helps people out. And because he's a SAS cat, bro, he doesn't tell too many. Just call him Rayok. But I rang him, bro, and because I said to the boss, I'm not farming this job out, man. I'm going. You know? I've never been to South Korea. I'm going to go do that security risk assessment myself. Yeah, I was like, hey, bro, you want to go for a road trip? And he's like, where? I said, South Korea. He's like, yeah, bro. I said, meet me in Singapore, cuz we'll go from there. And so here's a Aussie and a Kiwi. We go to the hotel, get ourselves a Lotte Hotel World, which got an amusement park underneath it. Man, South Korea rocks, bro. And then and because Google Maps Google Translate doesn't work in South Korea, and bro, it was pretty much map the ground stuff, and and off we went, bro. You know, we just ticky-toed around South Korea and found our way. I got chased by two South Korean old ladies through one of the checkpoints because I was supposed to pay money or something. So they were running after me. So we stopped them, backed up, and hand signals and everything else. We figured it all out. And it's hilarious, bro. We come around to one point right Kangyuan, right out on the east coast. And I was on the phone, and Blair was. I was on the phone to the Singapore office saying, "Hey, grab us a hotel somewhere on the coast. I'll do the whole. If we have to extract by sea, or what we can do, can we do it?"
Yeah.
She goes, "Okay, yeah, I found your hotel. I'll send you through the name." When I looked up, I looked at it. It had a cruise ship, and I was like, "Okay." So I was looking for a sign that's got a cruise ship on it. He goes, "I don't think we are." I'm like, "What do you mean?" I said, "Look up there, bro." And I looked up, and there's actually a cruise ship up on top of the hill, like a full-size cruise ship. And they've gutted it into.
Wow.
And so that night, bro, was sitting up in which is a revolving restaurant, and was sitting there watching the sunset. Two operators, bro, drinking Jack Daniels and Coke. Out over a flipping sunset in South Korea doing a security risk assessment. And it's almost like that moment that your mate says. We just looked at each other and said, "Bro, you ain't done it. You're drinking JDs and Coke on a cruise ship on top of a mountain." And that's the cool shit that we get to do. Shit in our careers, man. You fellas get to jump out of planes, go and flipping submarines, and all everyone thinks is the best time of their life. The best time of your life could be tomorrow, because you're still here. So take all of that and decide to turn the world into an adventure and choose who you want. And if you don't know how, ask, man, get the map, read the books, listen to the podcast, man. You're dead. You're not a tree. Get up, move.
That's so awesome, man. Such great advice. Right. Love that, man. I could carry on listening, and I love the stuff that you've talked about. I just want to talk about a couple of things with you, bro. You've touched on some really, like, there's a lot of names that I don't know that you've mentioned, but there's some names that I know really well. When you mentioned Brian Wano and GT and Cookie and Aleo and those sort of fellas and Dip. And I remember Dip from coming into the barracks and cleaning everybody up on Tekken on that game. He was just the man, and I guess what I'd like to do, bro, like, because I've loved hearing about this coming out the other side of military life, and I just a couple of questions before I get to where I'm going. I'm guessing from what you do, because you work with a whole bunch of different people, not just military people. Just so happens that I've really resonated with the language that you use, with the way that you communicate it, with the structure that is clearly in place when I go into the Lion Academy and everything. It just resonates with me, and it's really simple for me to follow. I love how you've spoken about the trauma stuff. And I remember my first conversation with you talking about, there's a lot of awareness stuff out there already, and it's pretty easy. It's pretty easy to get past and get through. So I love that you've talked about that. The transition space has been awesome. Hearing you articulate and talk about that, and the fun that you can have as part of that journey along that transitioning. And yeah, there's the needs, like, I've got a job, I still need to pay the mortgage and the bills and those sorts of things. But then that looking ahead with the evolution, and that, like you said, man, that's gold, where you get to do whatever it is that you want to do, and making the decision and transition, but also continuing on with whatever that's going to be, whatever you want that to look like in the evolution space. I've loved all of those, and I know that's going to connect with our audience. I love the straight talk. I more than likely probably won't bleep out the wording used on here, because I think, I mean, that's part of it. It's raw, it's authentic, and that's been a lot of the feedback that we've appreciated getting from those that have taken the time to let us know. And so I think that will resonate with people and go, man, I really needed to hear that, like you said. And I just, the way when you've been going through these, I've been not only taking notes and listening to us. I love the motive, the competency and value, that VIP. I love what I've got for myself as well, in terms of, I need to spend more time in that identity piece for me, which I'm going to do, and looking forward to working through that. But some of the names that you've mentioned, and I'd really like to hear a bit more of your thoughts, and acknowledge some of those, and acknowledge a couple of them myself. But Brian was one of the guys. I never mentioned it on my when I was being interviewed, but I was this, and you sort of talked about, we use that term saccapoos and all that sort of stuff in the military. I've definitely been there and been that person as well. And one of the things that made me laugh, I was talking with Brian on Messenger, and I said, man, I forgot to mention on there, because during the pre-selection, and even to a degree on selection, he was, I was this dumb young private from Victor Company that didn't even know how to navigate, bro. I went on selection, bro, no idea, couldn't map to ground very well, could barely get my bearings correct when doing a grid to mag, or mag to grid back bearing, and that sort of stuff. And then to go on selection, I was just laughing. It was just a real funny thought when I was speaking. I was like, man, who in their right mind goes on a selection, can't even navigate? And I said, yeah, the old snot-nosed Hoary from Gizzy Town and on the East Coast. And he just cracked up, because he was spending time with me and helping me to try to get my head around the navigation. So I ended up on selection just needing to follow my bearing, bro, and go up and down. And the real clever fellas, the sharp fellas like Brian and them, bro, they could map to ground, and they could contour around that feature instead of going up and then down and up and then down. Hard case. But I'd really like to hear your thoughts about some of these cool people in terms of what you've seen, because you mentioned Brian and how he's transitioned and how he's evolved. Right? And so it'd be cool if if you have time, if you wanted to spend just a couple of minutes of what you've seen, and how it sounds like it's added some sort of joy and fulfillment and happiness to your life, seeing a close friend like Brian Minor to yourself, and all the other names that you've mentioned excel and grow, GT, etc., and those sorts of things. Would you mind speaking a bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, firstly, I love those guys, bro. Like, I love those guys, man. They're my brothers, man, and I love them dearly. And so anyone that's your whānau that you love dearly, you share in their successes. You know, you just none of this is a competition. The boys are better. Man, we're proud of the boys when they make it.
Yeah.
After you get past all the tall poppy syndrome bullshit, when you're up at this level, and I'll be honest with you, bro, there's not many of us around here at this level that have done the things that we've done. You know, that's just a fact. And you're proud of them. I remember when he pops up as the bloody operations manager for CRG in Iraq. I'm like, what? How'd you get over there? Now, what a lot of people don't know, because Brian is just probably freaking out at about this stage of what I'm actually going to talk about. The Calvin Klein model, this fella, bro. You know, he's got that.
It's a very beautiful man, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a beautiful man, bro. He's got that beautiful olive skin and that square jaw and those huge muscles. And he's really, really good at running too. So he's the full package, you know. And he'll just be flipping. He'll give me stick up there and there. And I think it's the difference with a lot of us. Brian's always been his own man. Like, whatever Brian can do, Brian's going to decide to go and do it. And he'll do his homework. But not a lot of people will be privy to what he's up to. Like, and I know for a fact that he's dropped down a few levels in jobs to hang a left to get a master's degree in security to pop back up the top as country manager or regional manager. Like,
wow.
Brian is an extremely focused individual. The ability to focus on something is really, really important. And the longer you hold something that you focus, what you focus on grows. And that's always been Brian. I think for those of us that know Brian really well, he's still. He's an awesome fella to have a giggle with, old Brian.
Great
you know,
sense of humor,
like it's always something. Like, I'll roll a few names together. So I'm in trouble here, bro. My Brian Arnold, Logan Cadwallader, Simon Namana, all ended up. I think Eddie Sanders up in Bali after Bosnia. I knew that Caddy would end up in the SAS the moment he drove past mine and he was surfing on the roof. Was pretty much new, you know. Something him one they were surfing the roofs in Bali, or we were getting I was getting tattoos and stuff, and Sai was there as well. It's just there's still a joy in him, you know, bro. And we've all got the switch that we can.
100%. Yeah.
You switch. It's time to work, bro. We've got to work, and we're at the highest level. And because Brian had been mates, and I had been mates in school, we're really, really happy for each other. When I went to visit the office, and like he's the guy, you know. We like to joke, you know, he's the HNIC, bro. He's the head nigger in charge now, you know. You know, you can't use those words in lots of different places, but to know where he's come from, right from the start, right to when we were kids together in Singapore, to being he had Brian is. Brian's Brian. GT's GT. At our core selves, yes, we've evolved. Yeah. But at our core self, our inner child, our inner children, which is the really important part of ourselves. Too, if you understand psychology, is your inner child. I think that's why we all resonate with each other, because we just end up clowning around and mocking each other. But when it's time to work, it becomes a competition. But it's to be better, you know, not. Yeah. And so Brian was always someone I watched, because he always chose what he wanted to do and just went and did it, whatever was required. And he just Cheech is probably the quietest follower I know that's gone and done that, and I haven't seen him for years. We got back and he was doing PT and said, "Oh, I'll come along for a ride, for a run, because I want to get fit." And he'd do one lap, and I go, "That's enough for me, but I go chill out," and he'd go do another, however many he did, and then like, "Where's Cheech?" Past selection, you know,
still going.
He's gone off up there. GT, interesting one. So GT crew here in town, we're a mischief crew, like with the mischief crew from town here. When I think just while we were soldiers, still Pio and Dip and those guys were still having fights with guys that were GT's crew before GT joined the army. And so I never really knew GT that well until we got to Iraq, and then we ended up on the same team. Yeah, we really clicked, GT and I, because one, he's another good guy to chase and weapons drills and all the rest of it. But we're always trying to outthink us. But we always had a heap of fun. Yeah. With the Americans, we're on a British contract, and man, there's awesome Brit dudes, and I got nothing. But we just seem to connect with the US dudes, and Glenn's really, really good at evolving, you know. And Bro's a wicked mischief streak in that fellow. You know that, right? And you respect GT for was he made a family decision to stop chasing Danbury, right? So
Yeah.
his first son,
Yeah.
flipping beast now, born premature. Oh, Jesse's a
Yeah,
good man.
Jesse.
And tell me the story that his twins when they were born, he could put his wedding ring over their arm, bro.
Wow.
When they were born,
Mm.
And so I've always respected GT not only for his skills as a soldier and being a good dude, but he's a righteous man.
Yeah.
I spoke to him. He's stepping up and evolving again. And I
Mm.
always saw GT as the mischief and one of the boys and stuff as well. But to see him go to where he went and then to grow and grow and grow, I see the same thing I saw in one. Or GT will choose where he wants to go and he'll go there.
Mm.
Nathan Klenner was one of the earliest guys I saw do it, and I didn't know
Right.
Nathan always watched what he's done, and he's just had a sweetness about him. And again, he's picked what he wanted to do in a way he went. Caddy's done awesome. And Sanders and all those sorts of dudes. Maya Patterson was another one. Oh, Patty.
Maya Patterson. Yeah, yeah. I just
Yep.
connected back with him on
Yep.
Facebook. It's been cool.
Man, another one made a family decision to come back and be that guy. And
Mm.
Patty could do anything, bro. Like he's that guy. He's
Yeah.
probably me times 10 if he decides to do something like get out of that fella's way, bro. And to come back, and him and his wife and their family business now and real estate and everything else was successful.
Awesome, eh?
And I still catch up with Patty just to keep. And we can have discussions that we couldn't have if we were in battalion. So
Yeah.
how's this that contract going? Where you seen the commercial market go? And Toby York is another one. Is into property development, all that sort of stuff. He was on our section in Whiskey Company. And then, of course, Bill Bestick, the astronaut. I might as well say it now, bro, because if he decides to be an astronaut, he probably could, right? So you want to talk about evolution, bro? Go listen to Bill Bestick.
Yeah.
I just want to do that, and you're going to become a doctor, flying doctor, and then look at this, and here's that
Incredible, eh?
evolutionist, that dude,
Yeah, I reckon.
But that's the common themes that I've found, because I was one of the last ones to pick my lane, and I've gone down the influencing lane, and my daughter,
Awesome.
speaking to my daughter's school about being an entrepreneur, which I really surprising, bro. Like a career day, and they're talking about jobs and this, that, and the other, and to invite an entrepreneur down, and for them that gets paid off what they've created, And I started like you, bro. I got to keep doing my, to pay the mortgage and building all the other stuff on. Until you learn a couple of stuff within the systems where, with all the stuff that you do, one has always got some energy attached to it at different times. The most amount of energy in the Line Academy is two things. Firstly, it's all the mental and the mentoring in the academy. So I've got a mentoring package in there that people from all around the world use. It's called the Lionpreneurs, which is basically my version of how I went from here's an idea, paid, and a step-by-step process. That's a 10 grand program, bro, for 12 weeks, 10 grand US.
Oh, yeah.
So it's really, really good money because everything I'm teaching, I've done it.
Yep.
The competency is really high because I've got the books that I'm teaching you how to. They're all my templates. Just copy mine, bro. Put your flipping content in it, and the value has been huge. So for someone that comes and does a 10 grand program, paid 1,500, then 5 grand, then 10 grand as a speaker because I've written this book. So we map it all out. It's an NDS, bro. Just do this. But the difference of the academy is if Joe Hortai comes and then writes a couple of books and all the rest of it, then it's Joe Hortai out there trying to run these podcasts by himself. And then you've got to.
Yeah.
That comes through the academy. If something pops up, I throw them in the academy as a partner course. So once my students come off that course, I put their stuff in the academy that's for sale, and we share the profit. And then I'm helping springboard. So what was there's two things. The two lanes that are doing really well is the mental health and the mentoring. And out here in the community, so I've got a youth program where I take youth 12 weeks at a time for Ranga Tamariki, which I'm going in there tomorrow. And I've got kids from Ministry of Education, and we're doing proceeds of crime stuff, all utilizing skills that I've learned along the way. So those lanes have all the energy. And then what my team's working on is all the evergreen stuff, Facebook ads, funnels, that just ticks over by itself. We're just learning how to do that stuff now as well. And I've just connected with a guy called Ollie Wood. Now that's cheating having that name, right? Ollie Wood's probably the slickest dude when it comes to nutrition in New Zealand. I just met with him at Wellington Airport.
Yeah, right.
Facebook ads, his programs, his systems. He's got like a team of 16 people that helps people with their health. And I got up to 125 kgs, bro, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So I've dropped 5 kgs in 2 weeks, and so now I'm going through knowing what I know how to do,
Awesome. Yeah.
but I don't know how to get under the hood. What are my bloods doing? What are my hormones doing? You know, what's going on under the hood? So
Yeah.
Ollie and I he's got, we're going to do a partner course with $100 reset course in there for my people.
Awesome.
And so now I'm able to grab people in and teach them how to do this now. And when you know them, or so those are 2 lanes. And then so my role is find other chiefs and helping them grow their village. And then helping people monetize. I get a real buzz out of it, bro. Like, when we talk after this, I'll be like, so what's your strategy? And you'd be like, oh, no, I'm just doing this. Oh, really?
I haven't got, actually, bro, that's a great question, because one of the boys, Eugene Hunia, did you know that name? Did you
I know the name,
Eugene?
the name very well.
Yeah, so he's back here. He was ex NZ Group and then Australian. Then just as I was coming in, he was getting out. He said that he'll come on the podcast, which is cool. But just when you mentioned that, I was talking with him a couple of days ago, and he said to me, he goes, "Yeah, bro, can you help out?" And then he says to me, "So, what's the objective, bro? Like, what's the goal? Like, what's the end state?" And I was like, Oh, I felt like Bill Bestick when he was being asked by that lady, so about the training, and that is,
so where's your evidence?
Yeah. And I was like, oh, bro, good question, but put it this way. To be honest, I've got no idea what the end state is. I said, all I know is...
Well, this is really important, bro, and I'm glad you brought that up.
Mm.
One of the things that you and I talked about is the difference between balance and harmony.
Mm.
So when you're in transition, it is all about balance, all that sort of stuff. Everything's in balance. Evolution is about harmony, bro. Everything works together. Like one cog in the machine could be on fire and burning, but the machine still works, right? Balance and harmony.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But the other thing, between destination and direction. In transition, it's about that destination waypoint, bro. What's the end state? Evolution is where you pick a direction. Gotcha. And so now you've actually this is because just following that bearing up and down, up and down, up and down. Now you've created an AO where you've just gone, I want to go in that direction, and you're just moving in that direction and enjoying the walk, bro. It's not like 970 reference point, bend and creek. Hey, man, that looks like a really cool. Just gonna cruise along there, and I'm gonna head in that direction.
Yeah. And that's what I'm trying to do, and that's what I'm loving and enjoying. So but it was good to be throwing that question, because maybe there are, like, the overall vision is we want to create this better future, one person at a time, one story or one experience at a time, one family at a time, etc., and build out. I don't have the blueprint of exactly how that will happen. All I can speak to is that how listening to podcasting, and in particular Lewis Howes, The School of Greatness, and listening to some of these others, he's had the Bob Proctors and stuff on there as well, how they've made me feel, and how I've been able to find a connection to that and gone, man, that makes sense. That's what I want to do. This is how I want to do that. That's what I want to try to create. Do I know how to get there? No, I don't. But I know that if it can affect me in positive ways, then I'm sure it can have a positive effect on other people. And that's proven to be the case so far. Probably not for everybody, but a whole bunch of people so far, which is awesome for me. So there's only a snippet of evidence, but I'm loving the journey, man. I'm loving it.
It's how you feel that's super important, bro. Man, it's like the greatest power you have is how you make another human being feel. So start concentrating on yourself, bro. And make yourself feel good, which is really. And you've got to have joy and humor to it. And the other word I'd encourage to start growing, bro, is curiosity.
Curiosity.
Just how does that work? You don't learn how to actually do it, but just be real curious. Like, I'm always curious about stuff. Our cryptocurrency course comes out next week, so I'm just curious. What's that space going to look like? I know the dark side of it. I know about pump and dumps and how people rip people off. So we're putting this course out there so people are educated. It's not an investment course. It's just we're going to have a crypto Christmas this year in the academy. So it's like, hey, man, as a gift, why don't you buy your family some crypto? And then here's a stable coin that can't lose value. So because it's going to be a thing. And the other thing that I've been real curious about is the virtual reality and augmented reality. I've always had a vision for how I want the training space to go online, but the software and technology, it took too long to catch up. Like, man, before we had Kartra, we had lead pages. what happened next? Infusionsoft that went to Entreport, that went to Kartra, that went to Kajabi, that went so technology still hasn't caught up with how we want to work. And so now, because I'm connected to those people, it's like, hey man, we did crowdfunding, we raised 15, and so tap is this. You can put like real thin VR goggles on, go into the academy, and just tap 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 way through it. You know, so it's just stuff going out there. And of course, they're going to turn the internet off at some point because that negates all of that. And then so I'm always just be curious. You know, when you sit in your house or you sit in your box or you stay in one mindset. This is something that we don't talk about, bro. Like just the horrible feeling of feeling lonely, like you're an alien in the space that you're in. Walking into a workplace where you're different to everyone else. It's a lonely, lonely, horrible feeling. Coming back to an empty apartment, it's a horrible feeling. So loneliness, I just want to acknowledge loneliness because it's something that I spoke about with someone yesterday. So a lot of people might be listening to this on their lunch break or at home, and you know, when you do a lot of the work that we do, bro, you do stay in that apartment by yourself, or that hotel room by yourself, or that donga by yourself, where you got one cup, your KFS and a plate, where you leave the TV on, so it sounds like there's someone there when you get back. And then the number one thing you take when you travel is pictures of your family, and every picture that you have of your family, you're not in it. So I really want to acknowledge the loneliness, bro, because that is a horrible, horrible feeling. So if anyone's dealing with loneliness right now, drop us a message, man. Like, if you just want to catch up and say hello or whatever, or even if I don't know you, man, I know what it's like to be lonely. And there is a loneliness in leadership when you lead this stuff. That's lonely, bro. Like, it's real lonely when you're building a vision that only you can see.
Yeah.
And that's part of the entrepreneurial journey. But then when you get to this point, man, when you run into someone else that's trying to build their stuff, you become their champion, man. Like, you become their biggest cheerleader and supporter. And when the boys come to me, oh, Dion, I got an idea for a book. Yeah, bro, let's do it. You know, it's like, yeah, man, we got this, we got that, we got this, and you're sharing stuff. And I remember one of the boys from battalion, when he first got to Iraq, he was working with who's the other one? Not Dyncore.
Right. Yeah.
And back then in Baghdad in 2004, bro, they didn't have a lot of kit. And I was working with CRG, so we had heaps of ammo, heaps of kit. And he came over, so they're down, you know, July 14th bridge goes across, and then you go down to the left where Dyncore was at the bottom there in the green zone. And so he found a way over to where we were staying at Believers Palace for a bit when we come out of Sheraton. And he come over and he found me and I said, hey, bro, what's up? He goes, bro, we're rolling out on our first mission tomorrow. I got 2 AK mags and one, I think they had Brownings, I think, back then, before the Glocks came out. 2 mags for each, bro. I was like, what? So I'd scored a couple of drum mags for the AK and the RPK from on the market.
Yeah.
So I remember giving them drum mags, and I giving them magazines, because you know what Kiwis are like, bro. Like, oh, how do I say this? I've heard of guys that used to walk around at 1 o'clock in the morning and take all the little rocket launchers off the back of the Humvee catchers and just, you know, just build up their bag of death for the cat team, just walking around Americans' car parks, bro. Like, shocking behavior. It's classified as
terrible.
terrible fellas. So anyway, just so happens
that's why we have such a bad. That's why we have the reputation we have. That's why New Zealanders have the reputation, even on operations, bro. You better lock those vehicles, or make sure you got sentries watching your vehicles the whole time.
Yeah. Who's those fellas? Kiwis. All right, check your pockets. It's like, check your pockets. And so Kiwis have always got access to alcohol, because that's the stuff, right? 9mm ammo was real hard to get for ages, until we found $30 bottles of 100-year-old Cavossier in her bill. We started taking that on base, bro, because bases were dry, right? Man, we got heaps of 9mm with those bottles, bro.
Okay.
Yeah. So loneliness, man, I just want to acknowledge that and reach out. Reach out. And that's why these podcasts are so cool, because that even some of those stories and some of those situations, they're just going to sit there and just crack up and giggle, you know, and just remember that. And when you told me that story of your mate saying, you know, just every time it got shitty. And the one guy I remember that always used to make us laugh, bro, is a guy called Terrence Lewis. And we'd finish some exercise, and back then in battalion, like, you finish the exercise, you do like a 20K route march. You know, and the Padre would turn up with the big bag of jet planes and stuff. And I was in Mortars at the time, and 2 things happened on this that sort of come to me now as we're talking is, in this whole journey, it's never as you think it is when you look backwards. Right? And so if you're in tough stuff now, think about your life bank account, what you've actually got through to get through today, and you'll figure out, man, I could probably get through that next bit shit that I've been through, right? And one of the metaphors I used with one of the boys was, how heavy do you think your pack was on basic? How heavy do you know it really was now?
Yeah, that's right.
And so this is reinforced on this pack march. So look, I'm in Mortar platoon with Jason Tuki and Moose and Punny and Merritt and Awanui flipping Melbourne and these guys, and like we're all pretty fit dudes. Moose doesn't look fit, but he can hump it back.
Yeah, man.
Rest in peace, bro. And so we're going. We had TF attached to us, and they blew their ass. So we're carrying their packs, bro. So every single one of us in Mortars has got our mortar kit and our packs on. We got another pack from these TF dudes in the front, and now you lean the sort of styro over the top of the pack, and we're sort of just cruising along and gas bagging on the stalk. TF sort of in webbing and rifle stuff along next to us, and we're cruising along. But up ahead was old Corporal Solly, and he had some flipping core trainees with him, and they're all laying there blowing their ass. Right, and he sees us coming. We're like, "Hey, it's Solly, present arms." So we're doing present arms on top of the pack as we're walking past Solly. And he's like, "Get up, you bastards. Look at these guys. They got 2 packs on. You've only got 1 pack on. Get your asses up." And that metaphor really sticks with me now because, like, bro, we know how much we can carry, and that is whatever we have to carry, we'll carry it. But we're still giggling and talking and carrying on, and these guys are blowing it, just with 1 pack. And then these guys in Web, and they're blowing. We got 2 packs on with mortar kit, and we're cruising through. And that's a mindset. And that's just they don't know yet. They don't know that stuff too once they've been through that process. But coming back to Terrence, bro, we did this back in Alpha. I'll never forget this. We did one of those big long route marches, or it might even be Skillet Arms. And we're walking along. When you walk along the desert, you're blowing your ass until a car comes. And then what do, Joe?
You're sweet as, bro. By the time you're sweet as.
Off that chest out, you flipping stand up all staunch, and you hope there's a pretty good on the car, and you sort of give them the nod on the way past, and then you fold over and you blow your ass again, right? Everybody does it. Come on now, everyone's laid behind the flipping kite site, looking at the desert road, going, "Oh, one of their eating caves, warm," while you're laying there freezing your ass off in the tussock. And so while we're walking along, bro, out of nowhere, because you do stuff to keep yourself occupied, like all those lateral thinking things all sort of pop up, and stories pop up, and if you had the choice between blah 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 and blah blah blah, all those conversations, right, which the content's not very easy. Yeah. But out of nowhere, bro, Terrence, love this guy. He turns around and he goes, "Hey, what's red and invisible?" And it stopped all of us. So we're like, "Where'd that come from?" And then he just goes, "No tomatoes." Picks up laughing. And we're like, "What?" Walked in silence, bro, for like another half an hour, and then someone starts, and then we're just
it's chain reaction.
I was laughing like it, and it just kept cooking, bro. It just kept cooking. And every time I think of Lewis, I just think, and it's just that ludicrousness just shows how much we all just love each other, and that we can all get through bloody anything if we do it together, man.
That's
and
awesome,
so
man.
Maybe we'll sign off with no tomatoes, bro. Like, no matter how bad it is, man, you can get through it if you do it with someone else.
100%.
Get a battle buddy, bro. Get a team.
Man, those are great points. I don't want to sign off just yet. What I want to do is just ask you, can you just explain and talk about where people can connect with you? Everywhere we can connect with you, would it be just the Lion Academy? But I just want you to share the key parts where you want people to come connect, find you, reach out.
I've got 3 lanes, bro. So easy to find me, just under Dion Jensen. That's just the lane where we all sort of just catch up and talk to each other. In the Lion Academy is, so the lionacademy.co.nz, and over in LinkedIn is all my sort of corporate experience. So those are the main 3 top lanes. So Facebook, the Lion Academy, and LinkedIn. Beautiful. But if that anything to do with speaking, you want to be, you can go to dionjensen.com, and that's all my speaky stuff.
Awesome.
There's the good news about PTSD.com, which is just everything to do with how the book and everything started. So the PTSD, good news about PTSD.com is there. For all our women and our wahine, we've got protectingwomen.global. for our wahine side. You don't want anything to do with me, but you need help in regards to post-traumatic stress, you can go to the PTSD Solutions community. Lisa Westgate is there, Graham Bint is there, James Greenshield is there. They all have solutions that work. Mike King's book's there, Sean Grant's book's there. Like I put a community of solution providers that can achieve with post-traumatic stress, but they do it their way with the modality, because not everyone's going to resonate with anybody else, but you can get through it, man. You really can.
Beautiful, man. All right, that's awesome, Dion. Thank you so much, bro, for giving me and us of your time, so much of your time. I know that you're very, very busy. So many takeaways. I've scribbled a whole bunch of notes in my book here from our takeaways. I'm going to be not editing as such, just getting ready to upload it. I'm going to do that straight away because I just really believe in the content and the stuff that you've created and the topics that you've spoken about. I know it's going to resonate and connect with so many people. Brother, really, really appreciate the work. It's obviously, it's clear and obvious your passion for wanting to help people, and that the motive is genuine and sincere, that obviously the competency, because of the life experiences walked and lived so far, and obviously still more to come, is there, and the value that you're creating, not only for myself but for our audience, for the thousands of people that you've helped already, is speaks for itself. So Dion, brother, very, very grateful. Thank you for coming on. Look forward to connecting with you again, and I'm looking forward to digging in deeper into the Lion Academy and spending some more time in there as well and learning from you, my friend.
You're very welcome, bro. Iwi kotahi tātou, tōtu mātou. We're all one family. Tu mātou. So anyone struggling? I'm going to finish off with Simon Nama's. He taught me, bro. Everyone's busy. Make time.
Beautiful.
Just
everyone's busy.
Make time for yourself, make time for your family, but make the time. We bend over backwards, and everyone else. Make time for you, make time for your family.
Beautiful, man. Thank you very much. And on that note, who dares wins?